Yo, what it do, my Negroes? Long time no see, as they say. What did the blind man say to the elephant? Long time no see. Man, how about that World Cup game, final game today? I actually didn't watch it, but honestly, I could have told everybody exactly what was going to happen. With the exception of Messi, that Argentina team, bunch of thugs. Bunch of thugs, man, making us all look bad. Like, bro, you're supposedly white people in Argentina, but you behave like a bunch of animals, a bunch of thugs, man. Ugh, it was just awful. I couldn't believe it. I mean, this is really how you guys are going to behave? Bunch of thugs. Put up my chat here. My YouTube chat. I don't know what the hell's. Oh well. Yeah, and I meant to do a video the other day, but it's like it's I didn't realize this. Stop streaming because I had a routine every day. When you get out of that routine, it's very difficult to get back into it. I mean, it's very difficult. It's so easy just to, oh, I'll do one tomorrow. Oh, I'll do one tomorrow, and never end up doing one. It really is. Yeah, I didn't realize it. Honest. Yeah, I wanted to catch up on some some stuff, more or less, and lots happened. JD Vance did this podcast, World Cup. Lindsey Scam, uh, died, which is crazy. And like I said, I really don't think it was natural causes, not even close. I was talking to my little brother about it, and he was like, I kind of had that feeling myself. Like, yeah, it's not that hard to see why. Anyway, I just wanted to kind of. I'm gonna play this clip of Ben Shapiro about the JD Vance Joe Rogan interview, just to kind of get the juices flowing. It's been a little while, so cut me some slack on that if you would.
Of 2028 is fast approaching. And we already know precisely what the Democrats will present on their side of the aisle. A candidate who hates free markets and wants to lay them low. A candidate who sees America as a cancerous force in the world and would like a weaker, less muscular America on the world stage. A candidate who embraces conspiratorial nonsense about systems that place the American dream supposedly beyond our reach. And I hate that crap. It's why I've been a lifelong conservative. So here's what I would not like: a Republican who sounds like a Democrat. I don't want a socialistic big government. I don't want economic policies that could come straight from Bernie Sanders. I don't want a foreign policy that sounds like Ro Khanna or a conspiratorial view of the American meritocracy that reads like Zoran Mamdani. I don't think if a Republican takes those positions, he's likely to win either. So why am I worried about that? Well, because yesterday I watched Vice President J.D. Vance on Joe Rogan's show. Let's just say I have some concerns. I'll explain in a moment. This is The Ben Shapiro Show. So yesterday, Vice President Vance appeared on Joe Rogan's show. And as always, the VP is charming and he's articulate. I've met him. The vice president is a very nice person. He's genial. He's funny. Obviously super talented. You don't end up vice president of the United States in your early 40s without being a very talented person. Usha, his wife, is a delightful person. But now it's time to get down to brass tacks. Would we like a Republican Party that is essentially a horseshoe Democratic Party? I'm asking because that's kind of what the VP sounded like on Joe Rogan. I'm not sure what he's doing. Now, listen, I want the Democrats to lose, not because I don't share their jersey, but because I do not share their fundamental principles. So I'm looking to support candidates who, number one, actually oppose Democratic policies, and two, can also win. So first, opposing Democratic policies, left-wing policies. So yesterday on Joe Rogan's show, the vice president made a strong case against free markets and meritocracy. He talked about the necessity of bold, intrusive government interventionism. He made the case for an isolationist foreign policy and relied on a bunch of straw men to do it. And he promoted a conspiratorial view of the world that undermines the meritocracy. Yeah, I find that weird and concerning. Now, let's start from the basics. Again, I'm a conservative. I have always been a conservative. I have not evolved my views. I have not changed my fundamental principles.
Like, evolving your views, I don't think that shouldn't be considered. I mean, unless it's flip-flopping and you're a politician, I don't see how that's a problem. Or, I mean, unless you're a Supreme Court justice, but for regular people to have or to change their views, to change, I think that's typical. I think that's normal. And for anybody whose views don't change an iota their entire life, well, they kind of sound like a moron to me. Somebody who, hey, what's up, Arceus? Somebody who never thinks. That's what that sounds like to me.
I'm not evolving on my views or changing my fundamental principles because they are based on extremely basic, fundamental truths about politics and human nature. When it comes to the world of American politics, there are essentially two fundamental truths upon which our republic is built. One is built into the Declaration of Independence, and the other is built into the Constitution. The one that's built into the Declaration of Independence is this: human beings are endowed by their creator with certain unalienable rights. And those rights include freedom of thought and freedom of speech and freedom of religious practice and the right to private property. All of those things are in turn outgrowths of a fundamental biblical truth that we're made in the image of God, we're imbued with souls, that we are creative and choosing beings. Governments are instituted by the governed in order to protect those rights that we have as ensouled human beings. That's fundamental truth number one. And then there's fundamental truth number two. Human beings are not inherently good. We are, at best, a mixed bag. James Madison famously writes about this in Federalist 51 in the Federalist Papers.
What's up, Matrix?
He says, quote, "It may be a reflection on human nature that such devices, checks and balances, should be necessary to control the abuses of government. But what is government itself but the greatest of all reflections on human nature? If men were angels, no government would be necessary. If angels were to govern men, neither external nor internal controls on government would be necessary. In framing a government over which men are to be administered by men over men, the great difficulty lies in this: you have to first enable the government to control the governed, and the next place oblige it to control itself. A dependence on the people," says Madison, "is no doubt the primary control on the government, but experience has taught mankind the necessity of auxiliary precautions." What does he mean by that? He means human beings are flawed.
For some reason, I seen some of this episode recently, and I think I just confused it. I think I seen an edit where somebody stacked up a lot of the stupid shit he says in this episode, and for some reason, when I saw it on my feed, I just assumed it was that one. I don't know why. Honestly, wanted to kind of catch up on some of these recent episodes, or at least his edits anyway.
I want to get into the JD Vance story first because to me this is so fascinating. So I'm sure many of you guys have seen it and you've heard about it. JD Vance was on Joe Rogan for a 3-hour interview. Honestly, I just can't stand this person. So let me just say at the outset, I'm not objective at all because I just can't stand this guy. And it's so funny because I put the interview on and I knew exactly how it was going to go. I set a timer. I set a stopwatch. I said, how quickly are we going to get that fake laugh? How soon into the interview?
Was it that well said there, Matrix? Surely the founding fathers intended for an alien race to dictate by fiat international capitals. I assume that you're saying international capitals, every single piece. I mean, and that's essentially true. It seems like it's as if we don't even exist anymore. We're just like a shadow that is like an afterthought for our government and for our politicians. It seems like they're not our representation and we're not their constituents. If you look at what they do, who they defend, and really who they care about, you get the distinct idea that it isn't us. It isn't regular people. You know, they more or less seem to be acting on behalf of international capital, which is pretty much Jews. I mean, at least most of these people in international capital, that's what they are. You know, Miriam Adelson, to name one, but there's multiple of them. And they're the ones that, like, you see, there's other billionaires that once they make that money, they more or less just bow out of the public realm. You know, like Jeff Bezos, like, other than when that guy is talking, like, really, he doesn't really do anything. He's not like Miriam Adelson. You don't see that guy sticking, stacks of cash into politicians' pockets. Not like that Miriam Adelson and Sheldon. They buy politicians. And I don't know. I just don't get that feeling when I see Elon Musk, when I see Jeff Bezos, when I see some of these billionaires. I don't get the feeling, the perception that this guy is just buying the U.S. government wholesale, or he's buying politicians. He's got them in his pocket. I do, however, get that feeling from, Miriam Adelson, and to name one, like, and George Soros, even. You get the distinct feeling that that's their shtick, that's their thing, is buying our politics. Sorry about that. I realized this capture.
Are we going to get JD Vance doing his fake laugh at something that isn't even funny? Joe Rogan is going to say, all right, we're here for the interview. And JD Vance is going to be like, I was like, literally, how long is it going to take to get that? 15 seconds. 15 seconds into the interview. It was literally like, all right, so we're doing this thing. So, Mr. Vice President, hey, Joe. It's like he didn't say anything funny. He hasn't said anything yet. You got to wait until they say something funny to laugh, JD. You got to wait until he says something funny. Then you laugh. And the other thing I can't do is the relatability shtick. He's always got to throw something out there in the first 2 minutes to make him sound relatable. So they're talking about the UFC fight on the White House lawn. And that's their common ground. They're going to rap about that. Vance is at the West Wing. Joe Rogan is a UFC guy. They had the UFC fight at the White House. And so Vance says, I got to tell you, Joe, the only thing I was concerned about is with every delay from the weather, I had to go and promote my book the next day. I was thinking, I'm not going to be able to get to bed until 4 a.m. Shit, I'm not going to get any sleep. And it's like, bro, just shut the fuck up. Just shut the fuck up and just do the interview. Joe, the one thing I was concerned about is I'm not going to get any sleep tonight. Isn't that? Oh my gosh, that's so relatable. Oh my gosh. I felt the same way. Me watching at home, I felt the same way. I thought, what time am I going to get to bed? It's like that with everything. It's always doing this relatability, and it's always the swear words.
Yeah. Trump opened up can of worms with the swear words thing. It's like people were like, it felt good when you hear him say it once or twice. And now it's like, bro, our society like just ascended a whole nother rung down into hell because of that. Like that's what it feels like to me. Like we're in purgatory right now. We're in one of the 7 circles of hell from Dante's Divine Comedy, and we just descended another rung down into hell when Donald Trump used curse words and people like sort of clamored for more of that, I guess. I don't know. But I've felt a distinct decline in the conversation, the dialogue that's taking place in our country. You know, all of a sudden, boom, it just got that much more low resolution than it already was.
They're always saying all this bullshit about me. I'm like, what the hell? Oh, dude, just please kill me. You all know where I live. Please just end it all immediately. So anyway, so I'm not objective. I am biased. I don't like this guy. I don't like him. I don't like his personality.
Really?
I don't like his face.
Oh, my volume. Can you guys hear the show? Yeah, I did. I saw that he did an interview. I didn't see it though, actually. I didn't end up seeing it. Oh, fuck.
Influence campaigns.
Yeah.
He says, and the problem is when
like the Muslim campaigns, the campaigns against Muslim people, like anytime the Israelis or the Jays do like anytime their stock value goes down in the market of American public opinion, all of a sudden you get this just a sort of rapid fire journalism and news stories about Muslims and how evil they are and how it's like, oh yeah, we're bad, but you know, they're even worse. Like, you know, you really got to worry about those guys. Like, never mind what we've done. You've really got to worry about these Muslims. And it's gotten to the point now where everybody rightfully knows that if Muslims is Islam, if Islam is causing a problem, okay, the problem may be Islam, but we know who is behind the problem or what has caused that problem. Like Europe is descending into Islam, like an Islamic hell. Well, because Israel has bombed and murdered so many people that they're just fleeing. And I get that it's not that they're run for your lives, like running away from the Middle East. It's more like you know, they're getting sort of shepherded out of their own countries, and rather than stay in refugee camps in northern Africa or the Middle East, they just make the full journey and go to Europe. You know, if they're gonna move, they're like, well, fuck, may as well go where the food is, may as well go where the money is, maybe may as well go where the free shit is.
American officials and representatives allow themselves to be influenced by this. He says, in one specific example where this happens is with the Memorandum of Understanding. He said he knows for a fact that this was a plan hatched in Israel. This is the agenda of the Israeli government to use their influence over American political discourse to try to derail the peace process. They are trying to poison the American public on the peace deal that was achieved by J.D. Vance and Steve Witkoff with this memorandum of understanding, because Israel wants the war to go on indefinitely. So their agenda was to take out the deal so the war can continue. And how did they do that? They mobilized their agents inside the United States to poison public opinion against the deal, and specifically attack Vance, who brokered the deal and was promoting the deal. He said, and so they're calling me an anti-Semite over this, when in reality, I have deep respect for the Jews and so on, for the Jewish faith. And this is a story. This is from an Israeli source. It says, quote, U.S. Vice President J.D. Vance downplayed Israel's alleged political influence on U.S. Referenced a story published on Tuesday in Time magazine, which commented on how U.S. President Trump's former campaign manager, Brad Parscale, was linked with an Israeli government-funded campaign paying conservative influencers to push their audiences toward denouncing the ceasefire between the U.S. and Iran. The Time article, he said, quote, is worth reading because it lists a bunch of people who have quite literally been paid by a former Trump campaign person who was himself paid by certain elements within the Israeli government. And those people are attacking me viciously for quite literally trying to accomplish the negotiation objective that the president set for the country, he added. Rogan asked how these people are attacking Vance, to which the vice president said, it's social media posts leaking to reporters. They're attacking me obsessively, saying we should not be negotiating with Iran. We should just keep the military campaign going.
That shit really pisses me off. Like, we should not be negotiating with Iran. Like, what the hell are they talking about? War is supposed to be the last resort. It's like, if you can't negotiate, then you can't deal with each other, then it's kind of like this means war. But to just, I think it just totally misunderstands the situation and where we're at currently. It's not like we're not at the end. This isn't World War II, and we're not at the end, at the final stretch where we're not going to negotiate with Germany because we're walking into Berlin basically right now. So what's the point of negotiating? No. Like, we would have probably trillions of dollars of spending in between now and the end of a war with Iran. I think we should negotiate now. I don't think we have trillions to piss away, to forego negotiations. And it's like, it must be nice, to be Israel, where it's like, you don't have anything to lose. So, and all these rich J billionaires, they don't have anything to lose. It's not their money. It's not their kids dying. It's not them going into debt. So they're okay with fighting war. And it should be criminal for Fox to cheerlead for those sons of bitches like they do. And for Fox to just go balls to the wall, damn the torpedoes, full speed ahead. Let's fight this war and rah rah for the war and stuff. It's like, it just blows my mind. Like, our quality of life is already going down at like a certain, it's already like kind of look the future. There's a lot of work ahead for this country. And it's like, they're telling us to not only ignore that we have work ahead, like we need to get to work, but to continue digging our own grave, or digging ourselves a deeper hole. And it's like, and really, like, how long are our politicians going to ignore us complaining about that fact, ignore that fact that it's damaging our country and our way of life? I mean, are they just going to ignore it, like, to to the point where they're getting there's a rebellion or something like that, or just before the trap door opens underneath them and their neck gets, you know what I mean, like, and the rope snatches tight? Like, is that really what they're doing here? Because, like, it's like, bro, I can assure them it can get to that point. Like, we're still human. Like, I get it, we're white people, we're like the English, where it takes a long time to get us to that point, but we can get to that point. Like, we are just animals, more or less. And it's just like like, how do they have the balls to keep just doing this? Especially when you get like eye-opening stuff like Thomas Massey, where it's like, there's anytime a politician actually starts sticking up for us, and like Marjorie Taylor Greene or Tom, they get run out of the government. They get run out of Congress. Like, it seems kind of obvious to me that anytime there's a man of the people, and just like with Thomas Massey, like what Nick's talking about, how they amped up the J propaganda to turn people against Massey, and they're damaging their American stock value with that stuff. Like, sure, they get away with it. They got Massey removed. They got him tarred and feathered. But it definitely cost them political capital, and it definitely damaged their brand in America. They don't have any, like, their brand it doesn't have any of that cachet to lose. In other words, like, they don't have much value in this country anymore, much cultural cachet. And in the little bit they do have, they keep pissing it away. Like, how long is that going to continue? How long are they going to continue doing that until a guy like Ben Shapiro gets actually physically run out of the country? Is that when they're going to stop pushing? When they no longer have any persuasive value, no sway over America and Americans at all? Is that when they finally give up? Because it'll be too little too late at that point.
Definitely. He said, I should be clear, I don't actually mind that. How could you not mind? He said, let's say certain elements of the Israeli government want to criticize the deal or have disagreements about the deal. I don't even mind an effort to try to influence foreign governments to try to influence foreign governments try to influence the United States all the time. Israel does it, other countries do it. It's just sort of the nature of the beast. How could you not mind? He says, what bothers me is actually when American leadership allows that influence to affect their judgment and to affect what they are advocating for. That's what really bothers me. People are always going to try to influence the United States of America, whether they're allies of ours or whether they're enemies of ours. The vice president also defended his position toward Israel and allegations of anti-Semitic and anti-Zionist views. He said, the crazy thing is, people don't realize this, I'm actually like the reasonable moderate, when placing himself within what he called the massive pro-Israel, anti-Israel debate in the United States. He said, I think that's what so many people don't realize. I'm accused of being an anti-Semite. Some people say I've insulted the Jewish religion, which is insane. My attitude towards this is Israel is an ally like France or the UK. We are going to have disagreements with them. We are going to have agreements with them. There are areas where we're going to have similar interests and areas where interests are going to diverge. Vance and Rogan also discussed the level to which Israel allegedly attempts to influence politics. Vance said, I think some are better at it than others. I think Israel is definitely more effective at it than most. But I wouldn't say they're the only effective country trying to influence American politics by any means. It's more than that. The concern is they're spying on American politicians. This is Joe Rogan. That there are concerns about funding, influence, concerns about whether or not politicians are aligned with Israel or whether they're aligned with the U.S. first. So here's the thing about J.D. Vance. And I said this a couple of days ago. The dynamic is as follows. What is happening in America, as everyone knows, is that the public is turning against Israel, and specifically the young people. Democrats, more so than Republicans, have turned against Israel, but the young people, both on the left and the right, have turned against Israel. And this is why the Democrats yesterday voted to defund Israel and take away their foreign aid. Why? The majority of Democrats, or I should say more Democrats than not, voted to take away Israel's aid. In the New York Democrat primary, 3 DSA Zoran-backed anti-Israel candidates beat their establishment primary opponents. The Democrats are preparing for 2026 and more so for 2028. They know that Israel is unpopular and they are acting accordingly. They're responding accordingly to what is popular within their party and unpopular.
That the Democrats kind of prove that they're all crooked. We know that the whole government is crooked as a barrel of snakes. We know this. But the Democrats do seem to be at least sort of anchored to the American people. You know, like when push comes to shove, they do, you know, like they land on the side of Americans. That you got to give them that. Is when push comes to shove, they actually will sort of, you know, that's where they will press their advantage. Is they'll actually do things that Americans like. You know, if everything else is equal, they will go with what Americans like. Whereas Republicans, I'm not so sure that is I don't think that is the case. It seems like they never come down on our side just because it's our side, just for that. You know what I mean? Like if they do come down on our side, it's not because it's our side. It's because it's in line with some group of lobbyists' agenda. Like that's the only time they come down on our side of the fence, is when it just so happens to converge with with what we want. You know, the Democrats, if everything else is equal, they'll go with us. Whereas I don't get that. I don't get the feeling that Republicans do. It seems like they're kind of their job in the government, their job practically as a political entity is to represent anybody but us. Anybody but us. That's who they represent. I may be wrong. Maybe, you know, I'm jumping to conclusions but I mean, it just kind of strikes me as, and you know, it's not, I don't really see the Democrats as being better really in any way, but, and maybe I'm naive. Maybe, they're not actually siding with us. Maybe they have some ulterior motives, or there's a lobbyist group that I'm not aware of or something like that. But I don't know. I just get the feeling like maybe they're not on my side, in particular, my personal side, or hold my personal opinion. But they come down on American side. It's at least some group of Americans, Black Americans, homosexual Americans, trans Americans, but actual regular average Americans, like average as in they're not a politician, they're not billionaires, they're not rich, they're just regular people. Whereas the Republicans, I just don't get that feeling. And well, maybe you could say the boomers. I don't know. I'm not even sure that they actually side with the boomers ever. I just know it feels like they're always siding against me in the end. Like, if you do any digging and look into their actual motives, I don't think they've ever had good motives.
Similarly, J.D. Vance wants to be the nominee in 2028. Unlike Trump, who is term limited out of office and can't run next, J.D. Vance knows this is going to be his problem in 28. He's going to face the same problem as the establishment Democrats did in that primary. He's going to face the same problem that Trump faces right now, which is that the young people in his party and a growing number of people overall in his party don't like Israel. So he knows that if he wants to win some of these primaries, if he wants to be competitive in 28, and not just in the primary, but in the general, he is going to need to distinguish himself as not controlled by Israel, maybe willing to criticize Israel as America first, specifically in the context of this war. Because whereas before, maybe there was a general growing Israel critical sentiment, now there is a lightning rod for criticism of Israel, and that's the war in Iran. Now it has become discreet. It's become tangible. It's costing us something.
Yeah.
America's obsession with Israel, its preoccupation with Israel, its occupation by Israel has now brought us into another forever war that's causing gas prices to go up, causing inflation to tick up. It's going to cost us maybe upwards of hundreds of billions, maybe $1 trillion. So now this is becoming an unignorable issue. Can't circumvent it. So Vance needs to position himself ahead of 2028 as someone that is not going along with this. That's why I said a couple of days ago, he has an Iran war problem. He's backing an administration that's Israel first. He's backing the administration that brought us to war in Iran. And he's going to have to defend this war as part of his record in 2028, even though it's deeply unpopular for many reasons. He's going to have to get creative and thread the needle. He's going to have to at once own up to his involvement in the policy, while also distancing himself from being responsible for it. And I said a couple of days ago, I said, what's going to be the mechanism? I said, Vance will say, my job as vice president is to support the policies of the president, which is what I did. And to the extent that I disagreed, I'm just trying to achieve the best outcome. I'm trying to make a peace deal. I'm doing my best to make diplomacy succeed. And so even though I was not in a position to betray or oppose the president's policy, I did my best to mitigate or ameliorate the damage. I said that a couple of days ago, and almost bar for bar, word for word, he said that on Joe Rogan. But the larger issue, the thematic issue, it's not specifically just about the war. Of course, it was also about Gaza, and it's about the foreign aid. And it's like Joe Rogan said, it's about the broader conversation about Israel's money in our politics, their control over our media, their influence over certain politicians. So Vance has this.
Yeah, honestly, I just wanted to say real quick. Honestly, there was a second where I was thinking, man, maybe I'm just going to skip tonight too. Because like I was saying earlier, it is kind of hard to get back into the routine. I didn't realize I would never have taken the break if I had realized how difficult it would be to get myself to. But like I just keep procrastinating with the shows all the last week basically. But I couldn't do it to you guys on Sunday because I know how boring Sunday nights are. It's like such a waste of time off because there's nothing that's worth a damn on to watch except unless you want to watch World Cup garbage. But there's I was like, well, I got to do Sunday night. And that's why I was so late. I was going to push it off, but I couldn't do that. I know you guys are bored as hell.
Problem that at once, just like with the Iran war, there's another contradiction. At once, he needs to pander and appeal to this growing number of people, especially young people that are anti-Israel. At the same time, he cannot completely alienate the Jewish right in America. It's only about 20% of American Jews are Republican. And they're all Republican because they're pro-Israel. They're Orthodox Jews, or they're secular but pro-Israel, not ultra-Orthodox. Don't get it twisted. They're either religious Orthodox Jews having conservative values and supporting Israel. Some of them are secular Jews and they support Israel, like Bill Maher. Bill Maher is one of the biggest degenerate perverts.
You know, he's absolutely right about Bill Maher. You know, how that guy flew under the radar all these years beats me, but Bill Maher is an absolute cad. He is a degenerate, disgusting human being. I mean, I still watch his stuff, but he's such an arrogant prick and disgusting to boot. Like I have thought nothing but negative things about him since he did a Riley Gaines Club Random, his stupid podcast. But just how he talks to women, it's so disgusting. I mean, ugh, it's awful. I forget what I was going to say, something else.
In the entertainment industry, and he's well known for that. He's a totally disgusting human being, and he's a secular, pot-smoking, atheist, disgusting, vile liberal, but he's one of Israel's biggest defenders. And that's why he loved Christopher Hitchens, and that's why he even likes Donald Trump, and that's why he's increasingly critical of woke. Not because woke is too far left, but because woke is anti-Israel. And Vance can't afford to lose these people because they are a major base of donor support for the Republicans. So he can.
I don't know if any of you
Journal,
guys
New York
saw the interview between Bassem Youssef, I think his name is, and Dan Bilzerian. It was pretty good, actually. I don't really think all that highly of Dan Bilzerian. He's kind of I don't know, he's just off-putting to me. But quite a few things he said really, I mean, I say them like, that religion is not a religion. It's like they call it a religion. It's the way that they smuggle their evil, disgusting ways of being into our society. Like they get away with it because people think it's a religion. So people are okay with these disgusting supremacist traditions, and like it's just, they're supremacist, and I don't think it's not a religion. It's a bunch of these disgusting people sitting around and arguing and talking about whatever for the last couple thousands of years. Because I mean, if you look in their scriptures, that, you know, I'm trying not to name it. You know, it starts with a T, but you know, it's just a bunch of old Jays arguing over bullshit, arguing over nothing. But it's just a tradition of screwing over other human beings at every possible turn. You know, not working, and not, the money they have is not the sweat of their own brow. That's not what it is. And these traditions keep them aloof, and it keeps them from ever having or ever working for their own daily bread. That's not them, and their traditions and their ways kind of enforce that, and they laugh and shame and look down on any human being that has the temerity to earn their own daily bread. They laugh at that. And it's like, I mean, laugh if you want, laugh if you must, but you know, These people are the ants that save their money. You are the disgusting grasshopper that just wants to mooch and drain the ants dry. It's disgusting.
Post. Who's he aligned with? He's aligned with Bibi Netanyahu. Larry Ellison acquired TikTok, CBS, CNN, Warner Brothers, Paramount Plus. Who's he aligned with? He was born in America. He's aligned with Israel. Who's in the administration? Is it a lot of French and British? Or is it Jared Kushner, Howard Lutnick, Steve Witkoff, Stephen Miller, Marco Rubio, Mike Waltz, who are all loyal to Israel? Our ambassador to France is an agent of Israel.
Huh.
Do you know who our ambassador to France is? Jared Kushner's father, Charles Kushner. You know what his priorities are as our ambassador to France? Number one, fight anti-Semitism.
Or, yeah, of course that's the case. Look at Mike Huckabee. This is our ambassador. But he doesn't behave like an ambassador at all. He behaves more like Israel's ambassador to America. He literally runs cover for Israel. That's his job, is to run cover for Israel, not run cover for us. It's the opposite. That is how backwards and disgusting this group of people are. Ugh. And Mike Huckabee, the guy he's an absolute disgrace to his own religion. I mean, and it seems like a big act, like he's just put on this act so that he would be sort of above reproach to a certain section of America. Because as soon as he gets put into this position, ambassador to Israel, it's like, I don't know. It's definitely got this Uncle Tom kind of a flavor to it. You know, this apologist for the scum of the earth.
So it's a false equivalency.
Yeah, Lady
Do
Lindsay.
all countries try to influence American politics? Ostensibly. But the bigger question is who's actually doing it? It's Israel. Who among our allies is influencing America? It's Israel. It's not the European Union. It's not Ukraine. It's not South Korea or Japan or India. Look at what we've done to India.
And what he's saying is absolutely right. You know it's right because think of the lobbies that people have talked about in your lifetime. Think back to when you were a child and you just kind of overheard politics. You heard about big ag, big pharma. You know, you hear about these lobbies, the pharma lobby, the oil lobby. You used to hear about the railroad lobby, back in the 1900s, you hear about, you would hear people talking about, making references to it. You hear about all these different lobbies, and there's only one that is associated with a country. Literally only one. There used to be a Greek lobby because we had so many Greeks in our country that, came here. But now there's only one lobby that is associated with another country. We all know what lobby that is. Every other lobby is some sector of business. But there's this one out of pocket. We don't have a China lobby. We just have this one, not even a Taiwanese lobby, but we have this one out of pocket, disgusting shitheel group that has like stolen our government from us, stolen our representation from us.
In the first term, Trump renamed our Pacific Command to the Indo-Pacific in light of increasing ties with New Delhi. In Trump 2, they changed it back. They said we're back to the Pacific Command because India wouldn't stop buying Russian oil. And
they used to do physical work like tailors. A lot of tailors were Jewish. I mean, at least that's how it used to be. For a long time, tailors were Jewish. A lot of them. Tailor is a common name, but that was one of their specialties was clothes, making clothes. But I'm not sure if they were allowed to do that in every place in here. But that's one, like so, and they're different. They're broken up into different tribes, and not all of them did the same stuff. Mostly, they made their bones with exchanging money. Exchange rate, banking, basically banking and finances. Some of them did run businesses, though. In Germany and stuff. Like there are places where they did run businesses. There are some of them did make their money by working for it. I don't know how many of them, but some of them did. Most of them made money by middlemaning, though, by connecting customers with businesses. And that's kind of that's being generous for sure. But yeah, that most of the money they make, or most of the way they made their bones, was by swindling other people, whether that be through exchanging currency exchange, or jewelry. And that's another way, making jewelry. That was, because they've always been known for dealing in jewelry. But at some point and that's why it's called jewelry. But at some point they actually crafted the pieces themselves. Now they just kind of buy and sell stones. But they actually used to make gold jewelry and stuff at one point.
Yes. So we're willing to piss off South Korea. We're willing to piss off Japan and India and Europe and Canada and Mexico and Colombia and all of them. We are never willing to piss off Israel.
Ever.
So they stand out. They are alone. They are unique among allies and among all countries in influencing our politics. And by the way, we pay them for the privilege. Why would you not mind that? If you're America first, of course you would mind that. And of course you would mind that they're doing it. And the problem is not just that American politicians listen, it's that Americans betray their country for Israel. But he goes, I don't mind. Every country does it. I get why they do it. I have no problem with it. He says, I'm a reasonable moderate on the issue. So you're telling me Israel spies on our country. Israel influences our policy. Israel's calling you an anti-Semite, a horrible thing to call somebody. Israel's poisoning the peace deal because they want us to die and spend money on their wars. You're a reasonable moderate on that? Does that even make any sense? Do you believe that? If J.D. Vance believes that Israel is paying Americans to buy off influencers, to sabotage diplomacy, then what is the necessary conclusion? It means Israel wants Americans to die in their war. Israel wants us to spend trillions of dollars on their war. What happens if peace fails? What happens if diplomacy fails? What happens if the deal collapses? It means Americans will die. It means we are trapped. We are stuck. It means inflation goes up, gas prices stay high. It means we may be involved in a ground war in Iran. That's not a joke. That is serious. And Vance says, we know they're doing it. He says, we know exactly what they're doing. We know this is the agenda hatched in Israel by their government. They're paying Americans to poison the well in the conversation and attack the people making the deal. And the conclusion is they want Americans to permanently be at war on their behalf. And in the same sentence, Vance says, I don't mind it. Everybody else does it. I get why they do it. It's fine. I'm a reasonable moderate on that issue. It's this equivocation, trying to make everybody happy, trying to make us happy without pissing off the Israelis, trying to make the Israelis happy without pissing off us. No, that's not the Trump way. That's not the Trump playbook. That's not decisive. That's not bold. And it doesn't work. And it doesn't make any sense. If you really believe the things you were saying, you wouldn't be a reasonable moderate. You would be saying, this is enough. We give this country billions of dollars. We've done more than enough for this country. They don't listen. And then they're trying to
do they try to change our shit? We giving them all this stuff, and they try to guilt us and make us feel like we've done something wrong, like we were Germans, like that perpetrated some dastardly crime. It's not as though, and like Tucker said this before, uh people always resent owing. Like, we've given them things and helped them out, and they resent us for it. It's just like, I think he said it like kids resent their parents when they just give them. I forget what example he used, but you know, it breeds resentment, and they resent the hell out of us for it, for us helping them. And at every turn, they're trying to guilt us or make us feel like we've done something to them. We've somehow hurt them or injured them, or it's just so tiresome. Why do we have to put up with it?
Influence our policy, they better get in line. They better get in line. They better join and be a part of the solution and the peace process, or they should fight for themselves then. That should be the message. But again, he can't do that because he is a politician. He is a congenital politician. That's why he was a never Trumper in 2016, and now he's a national conservative in 2026. That's why a couple of years ago, when he got the nomination at the convention, he said we need to bomb Iran really hard. And now that it's not working out, he says, oh, well, I just have to do whatever the president says. Remember? 2 years ago, Sean Hannity interviewed him at the Republican convention. And Hannity said, what do you think about foreign policy? And Vance said, I think we need to punch Iran hard. He said, no more of these minor strikes. We need to hit Iran and hit them hard. He said that at the convention when he was formally nominated. 2 years later, when we actually do it, he goes, well, I just had to support the president. It gets better. So he says all this in the interview, and Joe Rogan asks him point blank. He says, okay, so do you think Israel is manipulating the conversation in America? Do you think they're succeeding at this? And the reaction from Vance, I mean, it's almost like a bit. It's almost like a sketch. So Vance just gets done saying, Israel tries to influence our government. They try to influence it by influencing the public discourse. We know exactly what they're doing. According to Time magazine, Brad Parscale was paid by Israel to pay influencers to poison pill the deal. So Joe Rogan says, do you think Israel is influencing the conversation? And Vance goes, and then he fills up his glass with water. He goes,
He didn't like that.
I mean, that's a really complicated question, man. I don't know. I'm not even making it up. That's what he literally, fills his glass with water. I mean,
he wants to be associated with the anti-Israel sort of sentiment in the country, but he doesn't want to actually walk the walk. He wants to talk the talk, but not walk the walk. I mean, I've kind of been with Nick on this one since the jump. JD Vance, I liked him at first, and then it was like as soon as they were in office, it's like, oh, never mind. I was totally wrong about this guy. He's an absolute snake in the grass. I mean, it seems pretty obvious to me. The guy he's disgusting.
I don't know. I mean, that's a difficult question, man. Okay, so what the fuck are you saying then? What's the point? Rogan asked Vance, he says, if it was not for Israel, would we be at war with Iran? In other words, if Israel's influence was not a factor, would we still be at war? And Vance says, absolutely. Absolutely. We would have bombed him in Midnight Hammer and we would have went to war with them now.
If that's the case.
Okay, so then what?
If that's the case, then you shouldn't be in office, asshole. Like, seriously, if you would have still done that dumb shit, then what the hell, man? Like, you've just forfeited any sort of claim to the office that you ever had. Like, any politician that says some dumb shit like that. Because it's clear as day that's the only reason that they could have for starting this war and for spending billions of dollars on one bombing raid that it's still like, I still haven't seen the actual evidence for why we did that. Like, I want to see pictures of damaged lab. You know, like, I don't know what was in the ground that they dropped those bunker busters for. I didn't see anything. Like, I haven't seen pictures of a facility. You know, like, when it comes down to it, we're taking somebody's word for this, because, like, you know, I haven't seen what was down in that bunker. Could be nothing for all I know.
Are you saying then? Israel influences our government, and we know how they do it. And here's a specific example. And they're calling me an anti-Semite, but I'm like a reasonable moderate, and they're not even really succeeding. And I don't really know if they're having an impact. And Israel wants us in this forever war. They want us to fight war with Iran indefinitely, and they can't even tell us how they're going to win. But we would have been at war anyway. We would have started this war no matter what, because it's really about our interest, and Trump is America first. Okay, so this is what happens when everything that you say is manufactured by consultants. This is what happens when everything you say is created, is designed,
Bullshit.
these exquisite rhetorical flourishes for a focus group. How can we pander and appeal to the increasingly Israel-critical multitude without alienating the Israelis? And here's really what they concocted. It's something like, we have to acknowledge Israel's influence without attacking the people that are responsible for it. Because, of course, the pro-Israel donors that put up all the money, they're the Israel lobby. Vance doesn't like being attacked by them. Vance doesn't want to be attacked by them. Vance recognizes he needs them. How do we know? He's pandering to them too. He's saying, look, I recognize you're pandering on behalf of Israel. Hey, it's okay. He's trying to be like the cool dad. Hey, little dude, I get it. You want to stay up past 9 o'clock. He's saying to the Israel lobby, hey, listen, Mark Levin, totally love your stuff, totally love your work. I get it. You love Israel. You're a proud Jew. I respect the Jewish people. I don't blame you. You want what's best for Israel? I don't mind it. France wants what's best for... I get it. But the problem is I just can't listen to you. And he thinks that Mark Levin and Miriam Adelson and Ike Perlmutter and Larry Ellison are going to be like, totally understandable. We get it. We get it. Meshuggah, you're going to put America first. We're going to put Israel first. I think we're going to play this game forever. No, because they're serious.
But really, I get what Nick's trying to say is right here. Like, and what I get what the point Vance is trying to get here is, it's like, you know, well, we were the hegemonic country over the world for a long time. And we're daddy giving out goodies to the whole world. And these countries, especially the small countries, you know, they're trying to lobby to get those goodies. You know, the goodies are going somewhere, whether they like it or not, whether we like it or not. And I don't begrudge those countries for trying to get aid for the most part. You know, they're doing what human beings do. But Israel, like, I don't think that argument, it doesn't go for Israel. They're not just taking advantage of the situation. They're pursuing it in, like, they're the mafia practically. You know, they're not just taking advantage of a situation. They're like sucking us dry through a loophole. I mean, that's kind of what the deal is. And I don't begrudge other countries, but this country, they're taking it and they are like, you know, they've turned it into an exact science, basically. And they're doing it to the detriment of us, to the detriment of the rest of the world. Yeah, it becomes criminal at that point.
The rabbis, they don't fuck around. Okay, these rabbis, these Jews, they're not your buddy, they're not your friend, they're not your pal. They're stone cold and they're absolutely serious. They would die for Israel if it was required of them. And so these rabbis and these lawyers and these Jews, they're sitting across the table from Vance and they're saying, nope, no good. No. Israel's interests are America's interest. You can't make a deal with Iran. Like they don't hear this. This is, so I'm arriving at my point. Vance thinks that he can make everybody happy. Vance thinks that everybody's stupid. Oh, listen, Israelis, I understand. Don't hate the player, hate the game. It's an influence game. I know how it's played. You're going to do your thing. No, they're trying to win. So what you're really,
it's not like exactly what Nick's saying. They're not just trying to get their share. They want to be above us. Like, they don't want to be the number one country below us. No, they see the pecking order as them above us. And that's really more or less the point, is that they're not trying to be our closest ally. They're trying to be our master. They're trying to be what Julius Caesar was trying to be, dictator for life, trying to be master of the world. Being, they want the whole world to be like a monarchy, basically, where they're at the top. And that's why I say the point that JD Vance is trying to make, I get it, and it's a salient point. Not for them, though. Not for Israel. Not even close.
What he's saying is, I'm not going to play ball with the Israelis. The Israelis are saying, okay, then fuck you. Then we'll go with Rubio. The Israelis are saying, well, then fuck you. We're going with Rubio. You're not pro-Israel. And that's exactly what has happened. Ben Shapiro, today on his show, says J.D. Vance is a Democrat. He's got the foreign policy of Obama, the economic policy of Bernie Sanders. He sounds like Ro Khanna. Vance is a Democrat, and I don't support you anymore. And Rod Dreher at the Free Press, which got their $150 million windfall from Larry Ellison, which got the acquisition authorized by Trump's FTC. Rod Dreher says, it's a time for choosing, Mr. Vance. Are you with Israel or are you with the Iranians?
Are you with Israel or are you with America? That's really what that was, what the point of that was. It had nothing to do with Iranians. It had everything to do with us. Are our politicians on our side or are they not? And JD Vance, he's like wavering. The fact that he's wavering counts against him. It's like, if you can't stand up to these sons of bitches, then you shouldn't be running for office. Like, and we have every right to hold our politicians to this standard. They shouldn't be running if they're not willing, if they don't have the stones to stand up against this lobby.
Fine, said, I think Vance is going down a bad path. This is not America first. So the Jews are not happy. The Jews accept nothing other than total submission, other than total support. It's like I said earlier, anything less than absolute positivity and support, full-throated, almost to like a religious degree.
To sycophancy.
And they accept nothing less.
Sycophancy. You look at Ted Cruz. This guy, it's like he would rob his own mother for Israel. Like, that's definitely the feeling that the feeling I get when I see his tweets, when I see the way that he this sniveling, pathetic way, stuff that he talks about.
And so Vance thinks he's going to go to these people and say, hey, listen, I respect the hustle, but I have to put America first. I hope you get it. And he thinks they're going to say, oh, we get it, Mr. Vice President. We don't agree with it, but we respect it. You think we could get another war for Iran? No? Okay, well, hey, we tried it.
Can you blame? You can't blame us for trying.
They'll assassinate him.
Yeah.
Like, they will mobilize and that's not like a threat, but it's like, that's how they think. They're like, oh, well, then you need to be removed from the equation then. You won't put Israel first? Well, that's what we are. So
by hook or by crook, we will get you to do what we want you to do, or we will remove you from the equation. That way you can't stand in our way. That's what they're doing. Charlie Kirk, perfect example. JFK, you're either with us And like with JFK, like there's no way around the guy. They couldn't. There's no way to go around JFK or go above his head. And that leaves them with a final solution. Oddly enough, ironic enough.
We will ruthlessly prosecute you now. We will ruthlessly persecute you. We will back your enemy. We will mobilize our position and resources to destroy your career. And similarly, what Israel critic can get behind this rhetoric? You're the reasonable moderate. There's no reasonable moderation on the issue. Either Israel influences our country or it doesn't. Either they're trying to and succeeding, or they're not or failing. Well, we know that they're influencing the country. We know that they're doing it successfully. We know it has dire consequences. And Rogan is pressing him. He says, listen, it's not just about some of it. He said it's all of it. It's the spying. It's the money in politics. It's the corruption. It's that they're behind the wars. You don't get to do a drive-by snipe acknowledging, yeah, Israel tries to influence, like whatever though. No, it's not whatever though.
Yeah.
There's no reasonable moderate position if you're America first on whether the number one beneficiary of U.S. foreign aid is going to be manipulating our country and spying on us and working against our interests diplomatically. There's no middle ground on that. You're either America first or you're not. Either America has primacy and everybody else comes second to last, or you're not. There's no moderation on this issue.
More or less, when they say America first, what they're talking about is what we want first. Us, as in you and I, everybody in this chat. What we want is the most, that either that has primacy or they have primacy, because it's our interests or Israel's interests. Like those are the two competing interests of the American government as at the moment. Anyway,
and you can't not mind that they're undermining us. So this makes nobody happy. And this is why, like I say, I just have no faith in Vance. I don't know what he believes. Who is he trying to fool here? Is he trying to fool the Israelis on our behalf, or is he trying to fool us on their behalf?
It's obvious.
Because there's also, and this is something I noticed with Trump also, there's a tendency among the multitude to think that if Trump contradicts himself, like let's say, for example, he supports mass deportations, but then the week after he says we're going to staple green cards to diplomas. There's a tendency among the multitude to say, well, if Trump contradicts himself, if he says something for us and then something for the donors, well, he's only saying that thing for the donors because he needs their money. He doesn't mean it. He supports deportations. He wants deportations. He has to pay lip service to the other stuff to get their money. And it totally ignores the possibility that it's the inverse, that he doesn't care. He needs the money. He's going to deliver on the green cards for the money. The deportations, that's something he says to us because he needs the votes. He's not pandering to the middle or to the donors for the money. He's pandering to the base for their support because he needs their votes. Similarly with J.D. Vance, because Vance is a chameleon, I actually don't know which Vance is the real Vance. Is it the real Vance in 2024 when he said we need to bomb Iran? Or is it the real Vance after we started bombing Iran and he said, oh, actually not a good idea? I don't know which one's the real one. When Vance says Israel influences our country and I'm America first, is that the real Vance? Or is it the real Vance when he says, but I'm a reasonable moderate and I don't know if they influence our country and I don't mind it and I get it. And we would have went to war with Iran anyway, even without their influence. You don't know. There's no ideological core. There's no conviction because he's not really talking. Those aren't his real opinions. Those are carefully crafted talking points to appeal to me. And so if you're trying to appeal to me, if the rhetoric appeals to me, it almost does nothing for me because I don't know if it's appealing to me because that's what you believe or because you are intentionally trying to get me to like you so that you can extract what you want from me. This is the problem. He's a chameleon. And what's more, this equivocation that he's doing, it's going to alienate everybody. You're not going to You will never pacify the Jews by giving them their due and taking this middle ground approach. You're going to tell these Israel first Jews, you're going to tell them between the...
I mean, the problem is that they want it all. And they're playing for keeps, and they want, like, if this was a poker table, they want it all. They want everything on the table. So it's like there is no bare minimum you can give them. You can't play ball with these people because they want it all.
Israel haters and the pro-Israel people, I'm a moderate. How do you think that's going to go over? These Jews are fucking crazy. Do you know that? And I say that as we're all relatively normal people. Like when we think that what we are is normal, which is to say that, we have this agreeableness. We tend to want to get along with people. We tend to have a lot of tolerance for differing viewpoints and different customs and things like that. The Jews are not like this. The Jews are crazy. You look at a guy like Joe Lonsdale. Joe Lonsdale is fucking crazy. He really believes that like another Holocaust is imminent. He really believes the Jews need to inspire fear in all the goyim.
The way they
and that
talk,
like everybody that criticizes Israel must be hunted down and hurt badly so that they never think about going up against the Jews and what is in their best interest. He's like a bloodthirsty maniac. These people are insane. They're fanatics. They're equal in their fanaticism to Muslims. The same way that Muslims, throw up the finger and say takbir, and they destroy statues and they behead people and they open up their jacket and blow themselves up on a bus. That level of fanaticism, it's the same with the Zionists. Make no mistake about it, the Zionists are just smarter. Lonsdale is just as much of a fanatic as ISIS. That's not an exaggeration. Joe Lonsdale and Sean McGuire, these are venture capitalists in tech. They're billionaires. But they are just as much zealots and fanatics as ISIS is for Islam, they are with Judaism. They're just better at achieving their goals. They're just smarter. They don't go and rip open a vest and blow themselves up. They quietly infiltrate Silicon Valley their entire lives. And they only give contracts for tech defense companies to founders and people that are pro-Israel. That's how they do it. They're integrating the U.S. defense supply chain with Israel, knowingly or unknowingly. They're all basically like Pollock. Or I should say Jonathan Pollard. Every single one of them is like Jonathan Pollard, creating an ecosystem where they can hand over America's tech secrets, its surveillance secrets, its military secrets to Israel under the table. They want that synchronicity because that is how they believe Israel will be made powerful. The Muslims are doing terrorism. Israel has a nuclear bomb. The Muslims are doing terrorism. Israel is infiltrating AI. Infiltrating the Pentagon, El Segundo, Silicon Valley. This is what they're doing. Equal in their fanaticism. You can't match their fanaticism with equivocation. And say, listen, I know you support Israel, and I get that, and good for you, and I get why you do it, but I have to support America. And expect that they're going to go, oh, JD, you bastard. I disagree with you, but fuck it. If I don't believe you're a really decent guy, put her there. They're not like that. They're not like that. Their motto is by way of deception. Their motto is rise and kill them first.
Yeah.
They're not like that. So this is something that people
there.
like Vance and Tucker need to get through their fucking head is if you are with us, there can be no equivocation. Are you America first? Prove it. Tucker's getting there. Vance is not. Tucker played this game. He was a pussy for a very long time. Tucker is either an idiot or a coward because for 25 years he had nothing to say about Israel. Tucker is either a coward or an idiot because he worked in politics for 25 years and never saw anything going on with Israel. So you're either too stupid to see what's going on or you were in on it. Either way, you're useless. And his daddy was a part of it too. His dead daddy was a part of it as well. His dead daddy was working for Hungary, was working for the Foundation for Defense of Democracies. which is an Israeli cutout. So we're glad you could make it, Tucker. We're glad you could make it. This basement-dwelling incel is glad that you could finally join the party and be a patriot and defend your country. Tucker's getting it. Vance is not. This equivocation isn't going to work. And I'll tell you what's going to happen. In 2028, Marco Rubio is going to be decisive and bold and strong as a neocon.
Yeah.
You can already see it. Rubio
will just unapologetically go for it. And I'm sure, and he'll probably win because of that, just from him not being wishy-washy about it, not waffling.
gave a speech today about like socialism and communism, and it was powerful. It was a powerful, I felt it was a compelling speech. And by the way, I don't want Rubio to be the guy. But the contrast is that Rubio inhabits his role. He knows what he is. He doesn't need to balance. He doesn't need to equivocate. He's going to be the pro-Israel guy. He's going to be in the pro-Israel neocon lane. He's made that abundantly clear because that's who he is. He has done his signaling that he's like a, Trumpian national conservative, but he's going to be the pro-Israel guy. And being what he is, he's able to go out there and give these strong and decisive speeches. They're just more powerful. They're more unambiguous. He will more fully and more confidently inhabit the pro-Israel lane. He'll be able to put forward a coherent and strong pro-Israel Republican platform. And we're not going to like it, but it's going to be internally consistent. We're not going to agree with it, but it's going to have its own internal logic. It's going to be internally consistent. Well, here's what I mean by this. Here's a perfect example. J.D. Vance says at once, Israel doesn't want peace. Israel influences our government, but also we would have went to war with Iran regardless. You see, that doesn't work. That's a contradiction. Because it's like if Israeli influence is so problematic, but it didn't bring us to war in Iran, then who cares? And then aren't you to blame anyway? If this administration brought us to war in Iran, irrespective of Israeli influence, then what does that say about your administration? You kind of want to have it all ways where it's like at once, the war isn't our fault, but also we're totally independent and we would have done it even without Israel. Whereas Rubio can say we had to confront Iran. It's in America's interest. And we're with Israel on this. And it's a no-brainer. And I'm not Israel first, but that's, he can actually have an internally consistent, logical message. We don't agree with it, but it's more persuasive because it's internally logical. Whereas Vance, because he's trying to be everything to everybody, because, at once Israel's influencing us, but I don't know if it's really affecting us. Israel's manipulating our country, but I don't mind. We know exactly how Israel's influencing us, but every country does it. And I'm kind of like on the middle ground on this one. So I think that gives Rubio a distinct advantage. This other stuff, it ain't going to work.
Yeah, I got to agree with him on that.
Very, very. And here's the bigger issue. People are going to hear this and they're going to say Vance is our guy. People are going to hear this interview, and it's on some level going to work. A lot of people are going to walk away from this and say, well, this just means Vance is our guy. Vance is criticizing Israel. You see what Vance is saying lately? And people are going to go all in on this, not realizing what Vance is really about. So that's a situation with the prospective 2028 presidential primary. Vance and Rubio, make no mistake about it, it's already happening. Just watch. Watch J.D. Vance's interview on Joe Rogan and watch Marco Rubio's speech today about communism.
I think it's easy to see that this is what's going on. Like, Vance does a podcast with Joe Rogan. I mean, it's obvious why that's the case. They don't, a high up politician like that, they don't do podcasts unless they're electioneering. I mean, it's that. There is no third way, not as far as I can tell.
The 2028 presidential primary has already started, and those are campaign events. Vance going on Rogan is a campaign event. Rubio giving that speech today about communism, that's a campaign event.
Yep.
They're already campaigning for who's going to be the nominee, and the donors are already lining.
Well, and luckily, it won't just be Rubio and Vance. That's never the case. I'm sure there will be one somewhat. I mean, it's kind of like the free market. You know, when there's an opening in the market, somebody steps up to take the mantle. You know, and if all the politicians running for Republicans, if they're all bought and paid for, let's hope that one of them has the stones to actually support the constituents they plan on representing in the end.
But I want to get into the news. Our big story, our feature story for tonight is all about this brand new amendment to an appropriations bill in the House of Representatives. Now, this amendment was sponsored and created by Thomas Massie, and this is a bill that would have stripped Israel of all U.S. foreign aid, all of it, every dollar, every cent of military, humanitarian, and every other kind of foreign aid. And the big development from this bill is that for the first time in U.S. history, a majority of Democrats voted in favor of legislation that would strip Israel of all foreign aid. According to the
Andrew Tate and his brother got arrested.
Andrew and Tristan Tate were
They got
arrested in
roped
Miami.
off in
Looking back
Miami.
now, top goal.
And I seen like Christian pastors, like I think what's his name? Calvin Robinson or something like that, comes out like defending Tristan and Andrew Tate. And it's like, wait a second. Aren't these like Muslim pimps? Like, for real though. And they dress like a couple of douchebags straight out of Scarface. It's ridiculous. Like Miami Vice or Scarface. That's what they look like. It's like, what the hell? I get what you're saying, Goldie. You say F practical at this point. Well, dude, when Ron Paul was running, it wasn't practical. He's not running anymore. He hasn't run in over a decade. But when he was running, it was impractical at the time. These libertarian beliefs, they're impractical. They're as impractical as communism. It's like these things just don't take human behavior into account. They don't work. Like, I wish they did work, but they don't.
When I say that, no, I'm being serious. This is actually women's clothing. Nice. Nothing screams traditional masculinity like dressing up like an old white woman. And tough time for the alpha male universe. The top G, yes, the top goy. Who is going to be able to step in and fill those way too big of shoes that Andrew Tate once filled? Well, I've got an idea. Yes, Marco Rubio will be stepping in, of course, to fill the roles of top G moving forward.
Maybe this would be. Dude, what the hell? Look how Andrew Tate's dressed and how he bro, that is super sus. Did you guys see that? Like, not good, man. That was weird. I want to see that again.
So Andrew,
bro, he looks like a dude. He looks like a woman in heels. What the hell, bro? What in the hell is going on there? Like, bro, how are you gonna carry yourself like that?
So Andrew Tate has just been arrested in Miami and is.
What are they hanging out with?
Andrew Tate has just
some
been
J
arrested
rabbis
in Miami.
Is that who those guys were? They look like rabbis or something.
And when I say that, no, I'm being serious. This is actually
Yeah,
women's clothing.
It's kind of weird.
Nice.
everybody must be calling that same thing out, because I've seen a couple videos already that kind of were mocking that moment. That moment, him standing there like a femme.
Mr. Tate, would you mind signing?
Hey, Tate.
Come over here by me. Let's go. Come over here by me.
Who is he with? That...
Back up. Back up.
Bro, look at...
Back up.
What's up with everybody in the tight pants? It's so lame. Yeah, that's what I was saying, Mackenzie. Like, dude, he looks like he's got high heels on. It's kind of creepy. Not gonna lie, kind of creepy.
Guys, back up.
Well said.
You know the score? Are you able to pull it up some sort of? You gotta give us a minute. Okay.
You know, and it's, I mean, honestly, I don't want to stick up for these guys. I mean, they're not stupid, and I think I've probably kind of learned a couple things from Tate, because he does talk about, like, he's up in like the stratosphere, like he rubs elbows with billionaires and stuff, and he kind of pulls back the curtain a little bit. And I think everybody kind of learned a little bit from him, a little bit about behind closed doors. But other than that, I mean, they just kind of seem, they're all right, don't get me wrong, but they just seem like they're compensating, like the way that they, like, I wouldn't be friends with them in real life. Like, if they were just regular people, I would kind of think they were lame and try hard. Like, just kind of lame. They brag, and they all this effeminate jewelry, and I don't know. It just, I'm not into the braggadocio and this performative machismo. I'm just not into it. I think that's the opposite of masculinity. It's femininity. I think masculinity, is kind of inherently modest, almost to a fault. And there's also machismo. I don't conflate machismo and masculinity. Machismo is like, it's performative masculinity. And I always get the feeling that a guy's compensating for something, or he doesn't have good self-esteem, or it just doesn't come off as masculine to me. And that's how I like Tristan more than Andrew, because Andrew, he just seems like a yappy chihuahua. That's kind of how I picture Andrew Tate, a yappy chihuahua. And I don't really begrudge them, because their father wasn't around, and I get that. I kind of understand that has effects on men, or on people in general.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome.
I see, this is just a bunch of nothing, a bunch of them standing around. And the Odyssey came out. What what a shit show. Like, what a pile of rubbish. Okay, here we go. Yeah, because this is what I seen is that what's his name?
Get up and get out.
Crashed out on Ben Shapiro. This is what I started with. I was trying to start with this, that Ben Shapiro crashing out to J.D. Vance.
Tried for treason. This is not like a joke or a fun and scoffed at by Trump. Why is the market rate?
Really?
Because
this guy
serves. He was going to wield in and usher in this.
Bro, shut the fuck up.
That we have been talking about this.
Okay, I must be going around all of the parts. With
one portion I will skip here, but I will bring up is Ben Shapiro also attacks J.D. Vance's idea of meritocracy, and there's a kind of a weird exchange on that. I won't spend too much time on that. So I'm gonna get further into like the deeper bits here. But this is around the 17-minute mark here, 17:45. Forgive me. Right after this, yes, on the 17-minute mark, and this goes again back at the economy. And this goes specifically to where he makes this comparison that he sounds like Bernie Sanders. But really, listen to what Vance says, and you need to listen to the response of Ben Shapiro. And then you tell me what you think is more correct, what's closer to the reality, what's more politically expedient, what do you think will reach the ears of the average person?
Okay, if J.D. Vance and Gavin Newsom are saying the same thing, that is a problem. And of course, the vice president on Joe Rogan also suggests...
Is it though? Is that actually a problem though? Like, I get what he's trying to say here, but it's like, what if Gavin Newsom actually has the right position though? Or are we do we just take the opposite position of Gavin Newsom because it's Gavin Newsom? Is that what we're doing now, Mr. Shapiro? Because I remember when he advocated against being just reflexively knee-jerk against Democrats. Or laughing at the fact that Democrats, when Trump first got in, they were knee-jerk against Trump. And so Trump could get them to contort themselves into all kinds of, like during the State of the Union, when they just totally showed their ass. That's because they knee-jerk were against anything Trump. And it's like, I'm sorry, I'm just not willing to go there. I'm not. That's dumb. That's objectively dumb shit. Is this position right? Never mind who holds that position. Is it right? That's what matters. And, Ben Shapiro, he's supposed to be this logical, reasonable guy who sells himself on being he's so logical. Well, this is kind of hysterical. It's the opposite of logical.
Not only the Rerum Novarum, that encyclical ought to be the guide for America's economic policy, but also that AI tech developers, they're actually today's robber barons, which is, again, kind of strange from a guy who made a name for himself by hanging out with the folks in Silicon Valley. Here's the vice president.
True.
Well,
that's
true.
Issue, if you go back to the Industrial Revolution, is that there was a lot of demand for workers, but the inequality in the country got completely out of whack. Like, this is the era of the robber barons, and then the robber barons in both Europe and the United States led to fascism. It led to communism. Again, to this point about giving people an option. If you don't give them a good option,
it's kind of crazy. What he's saying there is kind of right, but democracy at one point was theoretical. Before America dipped their toe into the water of, Democratic Republic, it was considered a theory, and it was the original communism because, democracy, it's been around since Athens. Communism, as we all know, didn't come out till like after the Civil War with Karl Marx. And democracy was literally the original communism, insofar as European dictatorships and European powers in the 19th century, like France, they invaded Mexico during the Civil War to block the spread of democracy. And that's how they put it. we're blocking the spread of democracy because Mexico had a revolution basically right before the Civil War. For a short period, they had an emperor, and then they basically modeled their government after ours with a guy named Benito Juarez. And that's where warista, that's where that term comes from. The waristas were the original guerrilla warriors, fighting against the French and the Spanish. But like, yeah, that was the original communism. Although, and now we know that it works, that it can be done. But like communism, maybe sometime in the future, a people will accomplish it. But like until this point, yeah, it hasn't worked. But democracy was the same. It was considered crazy, and the rule of the mob, what is it? What did Abraham Lincoln say? Government for the people, by the people, and of the people, for the cattle, of the cattle. No, for the cattle, by the cattle, and of the cattle. Like, that was kind of the nobilities. That's how they saw it.
And then it leads to fascism and communism. Now, there's this fascinating encyclical written by Pope Leo XIII. I'll send it to you. It's one of the best things that I think has ever been written by a Christian leader, where it's written in the late 19th century. And the basic argument of it is that in the age of industrial churn, there has to be a middle way between 6-year-olds working on the factory floor and socialism. And part of that solution is to give workers a sort of say in what's going on. Give normal people some power in this system. And I think that's the thing we have to figure out with AI.
Now again, the sort of lie that
before that Ben respond to that. Think about how close to left-wing rhetoric that is. Then is right, like, but then is again.
Over which men are to be administered by men over men. The great difficulty lies in this. You have to first enable the government to control the governed, and the next place oblige it to control itself. A dependence on the people, says Madison, is no doubt the primary control on the government, but experience has taught mankind the necessity of auxiliary precautions. What does he mean by that? Of course, he means human beings are flawed. Therefore, if you give government total power, you will end up with a flawed human being in charge. And if you give of course, Ana Navarro was getting more and more and more agitated. Some of the ladies of The View were kind of into J.D. Vance. You can tell Joy Behar was kind of into it. Ana Navarro, not so much.
There is no evidence that Maduro was releasing people from insane asylums or jails like Fidel Castro did do.
No evidence, really, other than the fact that we literally had, like, what, a trend date? How do we know the names of Venezuelan gangs if that's not the case? How the hell do I know Trende Aragua's name? If they didn't just empty out their jails, not only that, but like a struggling government, why wouldn't they do that? If America has open borders, why wouldn't you get rid of your criminals? And immediately your standard of living in your society is going to go up if you just get rid of all the criminals. He's an idiot, though.
This was made up, and we just can't, accept it without pushing back.
Anna, we know that there were people who were released from prisons who were encouraged to come into the United States.
It wasn't where it was like a purposeful release, open up the jails, open up the insane asylums, and let people flood Florida. I lived through that in Miami.
If you go, it may not have been like Mariel, but if you go back to the caravans that were happening in 22, 23,
in order to keep them in,
we know that those things were funded. They were in some ways supported by the government.
There was absolutely.
So I don't know how you define support or not support, but if people are encouraged to come into our country after having spent time in prison by their own governments, I think that's a problem.
Okay, now the ladies of The View thought they had Vance by quoting old things that he had said about President Trump way back when, 2015, 2016. And Vance made the obvious point that you can change your mind when you realize you're wrong.
It's been well covered that I was a critic of Donald Trump back in 2015 and 2016. Now, obviously, I'm sitting here.
From that interview. Whoops.
Shapiro wasn't done. He wanted to chastise J.D. Vance over a different association that Vance has. And you're about to hear about it in this next clip. Take a look.
Listen, maybe the vice president thinks he has to kiss Theo Vaughn's in order to keep him in the coalition. And that's his political calculation. I think it's a bad political calculation. There's no politician who is fully capable of just picking up a prior president's coalition and then just carrying it forward. It didn't work for Hillary Clinton with Barack Obama. It's not going to work for J.D. Vance with Donald Trump. Just because Theo Von and Joe Rogan back Trump doesn't mean that they're going to get behind.
And Ben Shapiro's argument right there is you're not going to be able to get the American people on your side. So come over. They're like the dark side, like the Sith. Come on over, JD. The water's fine. Our money is fine. Our dirty, crooked, corrupt blood money is fine. Come on over. You'll never win the American people over. I mean, as long as he keeps serving those people, yeah, he's not going to win the American people over. And, you know, if he would just let go of Israel, I think he would have a pretty damn good chance of winning, actually.
Donald Trump, they're going to get behind J.D. Vance. The reality is that the vice president's current coalitional strategy, I think, is deeply flawed. It is hard for me to see how he doesn't shrink President Trump's coalition across the board. But that's a political calculation. Maybe his is better than mine. It is certainly not a moral calculation. And the same is true of the vice president's consistent defense of Tucker's disgusting demoralization up, which has been in continuous operation for years.
Like, who's taking political advice from Ben Shapiro? The guy is washed up. The dude is washed up. In America, anyway. Maybe not in Israel, but he's washed up in America.
At this point, you have to feel a little bit bad for Vice President Vance. Tucker helped him become vice president. The VP appreciates it, as he should. But now, because of his connections to Tucker or his desire to maintain Trump's coalition, a coalition that is broad and complex, he's been relegated to placating the crazies, assuming he doesn't actually agree with them.
Wait, Tucker Carlson is part of the crazies? Tucker Carlson's on a generational run right now because he's speaking truth.
Yeah.
He's informing people about what's really going on with our government. And man, does Ben Shapiro hate it. Can we please get back to talking about the green M&M and how they made her more sporty and less sexy?
Yep.
That's the real story we should be focusing on, Jake.
Yeah. So did you hear what he said? He said that Vance should abandon Trump's coalition that led to the victory.
Yes.
Because
bro, I caught that off rip, man. I haven't watched any of this stuff. I caught that immediately when he's like, you're not going to get those people, you know, the crazies, those people, Theo Von. And it's like, yeah, he's basically like whispering in JD Vance's ear. The only way you can win is if you back Israel 100%. I mean, that's what he's doing.
Only going towards Israel first will help you win an election? But wait a minute. The Israel First shows like Shapiro's and Levin's are down to like single-digit viewers. Nobody's watching them anymore. Tucker and Megyn Kelly are piling up millions and millions of views, and they're both now against Israel. So what kind
Free
of
market?
Yeah, but what kind of political calculation is that? No, he's not asking for the correct political calculation. He's telling JD Vance, you better watch yourself. Remember, we're in charge. It doesn't matter how popular Theo Von or Tucker Carlson is. It doesn't matter how unpopular we are. We're in charge, JD, and you'll do as you're told.
I fucking love. I love how Cenk gets so serious like that. You better listen to who's like, bro. He just gets so serious, and honestly, I kind of like that sometimes. I kind of like hearing like that. Like, it's good to have a balanced diet, and you know, even though maybe it isn't like, it's good to hear somebody voicing that, basically saying it how as if Israel is the mafia, because you know they are like the mafia, and if push comes to shove, they do think like that. They do say that stuff to people, and I don't think it's all the time and with everything, but he makes a good point. Like, let's not forget, these people are basically mafia dons. And they're forking out, like, they're doing favors, you know, and no, you don't get free favors from the mafia. You know, they're pouring a lot of their money, their filthy money, into our politics. And they expect to get, like, just like the mafia, ain't nothing for free. And every one of those dollars, they full well intend on getting $2 worth of influence out of each dollar, because that's how they are with everything. You know, they pay for something, they expect to get twice the value of their money. They're disgusting.
Tell them commit political hara-kiri on behalf of Israel, and so
And you know,
yeah.
Sorry, Cenk. And you know what's so crazy? I know that there's this like very strong effort to paint JD Vance as a dove, as someone who would have handled all this foreign policy so differently. But there's literally no indication of that. None. Okay, there was the New York Times article that was published recently showing that the Israelis had hoodwinked Trump into entering this war against Iran. And someone from the administration leaked the information to Maggie Haberman over at the New York Times. And the only person who came out looking kind of good in that article was JD Vance, who purportedly pushed back against invading Iran or starting a war with Iran. Now, I suspect, this is my speculation, that Vance was the one who leaked it because he wants to paint himself as a dove. But there is no indication that he is a dove. He's never pushed back against Trump's foreign policy. In every public appearance, he's only doubled down or supported Trump's foreign policy. But that doesn't matter. It's still not good enough for Ben Shapiro, who, if he were smart, would understand that much like Donald Trump, JD Vance is bought and can be bought further. Nonetheless, this is what you'll hear from Ben Shapiro.
The guy.
Yeah. So Maggie Haberman.
It's almost as if he's making his bones on representing anyone but us. Like that's JD Vance in a nutshell to me. Anyone but us, anyone but white people, anyone but Americans. His political career is spent screwing us. That's what his political career is for. More so than even Donald Trump. The guy, that's what he was put on this earth to do, was to screw white Americans.
Also had to clarify, yes, in an earlier New York Times story, they did report that actually JD Vance said to not do limited strikes, but go in big. Oops. Now, last thing I was going to say earlier, Anna, is 57% of Republicans under the age of 50 have a negative view of Israel. And obviously by the next election, that'll be a bigger number, not just because of the trend that's happening, but because those folks are going to get older, and some of the older folks that watch Fox News are not going to be around in the next election. So even so, if it just held steady right now, it'd be political suicide to go against 57% of your voters under the age of 50. And now for men under the age of 50, for the whole country, not just Republicans, Israel is at a negative 47% approval. Negative 47, but Shapiro says walk the plank. Okay, and to be fair, Israel did get Joe Biden and Kamala Harris to walk the plank for them, and now now Trump is walking the plank for them, and they're demanding that JD Vance also walk the plank. Kill off your own career to serve beloved sacred Israel.
And again, Jake, no matter how much JD Vance goes along with this devastating foreign policy, and it's not only devastating for the human lives that are lost, it's devastating for JD Vance's political future. But nonetheless, he goes along with it, and it's still not enough for Ben Shapiro, because a little later, Shapiro accused Vance of being disloyal to Trump's foreign policy. Take a look.
I recognize that a lot of young voters don't love the policy that we have in the Middle East. Okay, I understand that. I also know that we've secured the border. We've lowered housing prices now for 8 months in a row, and there's going to be more to come beyond that. We've made America energy dominant, which has lowered electricity costs and things like that. We've made it so that we have the lowest murder rate in 127 years. Don't get disengaged because you disagree with the administration on one topic. Get more involved. Make your voice heard even more. That's how we ultimately take the country.
There's a lot of good it's done, right? It's like the more we get involved, the less control we have. That's kind of how it feels.
Back from whom? So you disagree on Iran with the administration. That's when you have to sound off and take the country back. Back from whom? The current president is Donald Trump. The vice president is the guy talking. If we're taking the country back from someone else, then what are we talking about?
Israel. We're talking about
exactly.
Israel. I don't.
Talking about taking it back from a bunch of fucking lazy ass J financiers who think that our government is their personal goon squad, their personal piggy bank.
I don't know if JD Vance is talking about Israel, but it appears that everyone is under the impression that JD Vance is talking about Israel. I don't believe him. I don't believe that he actually means it. But yeah, we need to take our country back from Israel, Ben. We live in the United States of America, not Israel. You whine about every dollar our government spends on the American people. Oh, we have so much debt. While you,
I mean, and that's the critique, is this asshole cries over pennies spent on America in America. But when billions upon billions are spent on 9 million scummy ass Jays in the middle of the desert, this guy will go down with that ship. He will set fire to everything he owns before he stops advocating for throwing good money after bad when it comes to Israel.
You cheerlead endless military aid to the country you actually give a damn about. And yeah, that's Israel.
Yeah.
Back to you, Jake.
Yeah, so they've set up all these like talking points and tropes and landmines to protect Israel all over media, right? So they say, well, if you say that Israel controls America because they have given money to 94% of our Congress, they're like, oh, that's a trope. You're saying Jews, well, I didn't say Jews control Congress. Bernie Sanders just introduced the legislation to end sending more bombs and money to Israel. You said it, I didn't say it. And then I'm saying Israel, a foreign country.
Honestly, it's not even anti-Semitism. None of those people are Semitic. They're not Semitic. Arabs are Semitic. Eastern European Jays are not Semitic. They're not. They're Eastern European. It just pisses me off. It's like, bro, we just need to go ahead and just ignore that shit, because it's not factual. It's not, and they're using it like criminals to take advantage, to steal from us, and really, since World War II, basically the top of the pecking order worldwide was white American men, was European men. And ever since World War II, these people, these Jays, have been working overtime to dethrone us and to install themselves in our place. And they've done an impeccable job. They did it under the guise of civil rights and of getting, people of color and minorities and this and that, but they don't give a damn about those people. It was all for their own ends, to get them to accrue power for themselves, to make themselves the global nobility, basically. And we've been cast down into the gutter. I was just thinking about this the other day. Like, bro, they took us, we were like the nobility of the world practically. And they have spent the last century working overtime because they saw us as usurpers. We usurped their position in the world. And now look at how things are. What, like 30% of white men in America aren't employed and aren't looking for, like, bro, they have made a special project out of us. And it's diabolical, man. 20 years ago, like, bro, we were living in the tall cotton, man, in such a good place.
Their lobby gave to Congress and they control them. That's obvious, it's logical. Same thing with Big Pharma and all the other lobbies. And they go, nope, you're not allowed to say it. See, those days of you're not allowed to say it, that the Jake Tappers, the Gestapo on television used to do in the Dana bashes. For example, is our government occupied? Of course it's occupied, but it's, again, not just occupied by Israel. Big Pharma normally spends even more. It's obviously occupied.
I'm okay. You know, the pharma and stuff, it pisses me off, but it's kind of just like an inconvenience. It is what, you know, and I was kind of okay with lobbying before Israel. Like that's acceptable to me. American companies run by like that's acceptable. They're employing Americans, they're based in America. Like I can deal with that. We can work with that. But a foreign country, a group of subversives, like and the subversives of all subversives, they are the ultimate subversive group of humans. They complain about everything. Nothing is ever good enough. They take with both hands and like expect you to thank them for taking with both hands.
By the big drug companies who are robbing us blind. They've stolen probably in the order of trillions from us now. And so is Israel. $8 trillion on the global war on Israel's neighbors, right?
Yeah.
But if you go to actually free your country from all of the lobbyists, irrespective of religion or nationhood, most of the lobbyists are corporate lobbyists. The Data Bash and Jake Tapper and everybody on cable news will come out, not just Fox News, CNN, New York Times, Washington Post will come out and go, anti-Semite, Nazi, because they say if you say that Israel's occupying our government, that says Nazi talking. What? You just made that up. You just made it up. So no, we don't give a flying F anymore about all of your stupid Israeli propaganda. This country is obviously controlled by all the lobbyists, including the Israeli lobby, and our politicians work for them like dogs. They've robbed us over $320 billion, let alone the $8 trillion. We keep borrowing more money from China.
I feel like the problem with these guys is that they focus on the wrong things. Like they're trying to get people riled up over billions of dollars, like, you know, these billions of dollars, and it's just like, bro, that's like not even the worst thing. It's not even that big of like those aren't the real problems that these sons of bitches that's and like the way that he includes big pharma and these other things, which are relatively, they don't hate us as a group. They don't hate white people. You know what I mean? Like they see us as customers. But and he includes big pharma with Israel. No, Israel hate our guts. And so does these people, this group of people. They hate us as much as coloreds hate us. So it's not the same. They want to see us dead, man. Like they see us as competitors. So, and I think they come, and they know they can't frame it that way because of who they are and this and that. But, and that's kind of one of my criticisms of the Young Turks. It's like, and they really, because of who they're allied with and aligned with, they can't say things like that. But it's like, that to me is the biggest problem with Israel, is that they're subverting us. You know, like ultimately it's us they hate. It's us they're trying to subvert. It's us they want to see displaced. They want to see stomped on. They want to see trampled. It's us. And they're the only group of people that feel that way, or at least have the power, you know, to do something about it, about the way they feel. And to me, that's the scariest part of all this, is that they want us dead, man, actively. When Ben Shapiro says he doesn't give a damn about the browning of America, I mean, bro, that's the sentiment there. That's where he's coming from. Make no mistake, that guy hates our guts. You know, peels this grimace that peels back over his teeth to replicate and you know, to replicate as close as it possibly can a smile. Like when they actually have to appeal to us and persuade, like it's as if he's getting bent over in prison or something. Like, and he's having to sort of force and force his lips into a leer or a grimace that resembles something of a smile as he talks to us, as he talks about us, as he talks about this country. You know, he doesn't love this country. When you see the way that he talks about Israel, his love of Israel is what, anytime he starts getting like misty eyed about America, obviously he's thinking about, it's like people say, you kiss or you think of your mother country and I forget, James Bond used to say it, you know, like what I do for king and country, queen and country. I mean, that's more or less what Ben Shapiro's doing. He's like, you know, doing stuff that he can't stand doing and he thinks is beneath him because of how much he loves his people and his country. That's the only reason why, and that's who he's thinking of while he's taking one for the team, as it were.
Kids and our grandkids have to pay interest on that money, and we hand it over to Israel. And now we're going to murder Iranians and Lebanese people because Israel wants more land and more territory. And they say we have to support their fascism. No, we don't. They're a disgusting foreign government that is acting in a terroristic, fascistic way. And America doesn't do fascism. We fight fascism. So no thank you. Please get the F out of our country. And if you're offended by that, good. I'm so glad you're offended. I want to deeply offend everyone who says that America must bow and kneel to Israel.
He wants to deeply, and this is what I don't get. He wants to deeply offend Israel and those people, but he won't actually put his money where his mouth is and offend them. You know, the Holocaust is this sacred cow for him, you know, and how could you possibly ever deny this, that, or deny that it wasn't as bad? Like, it's just like, bro, spare me. Like, you're not willing to do what is necessary. You're just gonna kind of talk about it. It's like, bro, none of these people are willing to get their hands dirty. So it's like, I don't want to hear it.
God, I hope you're offended. I hope you're 1,000 times more offended than you have ever been. I am not going to bow, and America's not going to bow to Israel. We're sick of our disgusting politicians serving you and not us. I hope they all get wiped out politically. All of them. All of the corrupt sons of bitches, and I hope all of mainstream media goes up in flames. They're not objective, and I hope they're all bankrupt. They're not objective at all. The idea that they're objective is the biggest lie of all. They're deeply corrupt and biased and serve a different government and serve all the lobbies.
Every time you ring the bell below, an angel gets his wings. Totally not true.
I wish there was like a generic
The Joe Rogan Experience.
Train by day, Joe Rogan podcast by night.
For podcasters, I mean, I wish there was a generic edit that I could just download and just talk shit about. Which I'm working on that actually at the moment. Like I've been using, trying to build an app for that with AI. But yeah, I've been kind of trying to get a system together, so you know, to streamline and so do better shows.
And a few other friends that actually manage boxers
Yeah.
come to the UFC, and they were all like, "Oh my God, this is so much better than a boxing promotion."
Yeah.
Because all the fights are exciting. With boxing, most people are just there for the main event, and a lot of people don't even stroll in until like 15 minutes before the main event.
Sure.
Like all the famous
Any
people that sit in
issue
the front
with
row.
Yeah.
In the UFC, that place is packed
For the
you know,
get-go.
5, 6, 7 fights in.
Yeah.
You know, and there's 14 fights in the night, and all of them are amazing. It's like in the beginning, it's usually like half full, depending on where you are. If you're in a place like Salt Lake City, it's pretty packed like right away because they only get like one event every year or so. But it's just a more exciting sport. There's more ways to win. It's more dynamic. More things happen. And there's more stars. There's so many stars in the UFC.
Yeah. So I'd never seen a fight live before. Like I've watched them on TV, but I'd never been there live. So kind of crazy that it's literally in the South Lawn of the White House. But the thing that I found completely shocking about it was like I would think those like armbar takedowns are just done. Like that's it. You're over. But there were a couple of times where somebody had another person's arm.
Yeah, that was Josh Hokett and Derek Lewis. Bless you.
And it's like, holy shit.
Yeah, he
You're
just
going to have your
wasn't-
arm broken off.
He
and yet
wasn't-
he didn't.
He wasn't doing it right.
Okay. Oh.
Josh Hokett is a great wrestler.
Yeah.
And he's an excellent fighter. But he's not really a submission specialist. I mean, he did get the arm bar, but he didn't do it right.
Okay.
He was basically like pulling on. You have to elevate your hips, and you have to create space so that the arm is bending back this way.
Yeah.
His arm is a
Our vice president thirsts for the approval of groypers, people primarily driven by their insatiable need to blame Jews for all the world's ills. Just as spineless progressives will say or do anything to get a pat on the head from Zoran Mamdani, Vice President J.D. Vance seems to be crafting his every utterance for the plaudits of Tucker Carlson and the groyper right. I don't think Vance shares their viewpoint, but what the vice president lacks in conviction, he more than makes up for in pandering to the conspiracy theorists of the Twitter sphere. During an appearance on the Joe Rogan podcast, Vance complained bitterly about the opposition he faced for signing what many saw as a humiliating deal with Iran that left the Iranians feeling like the winners, a deal that, it bears mentioning, has already fallen apart. Rather than doing any soul-searching, Vance blamed the pushback on a, quote, very discreet, extremely well-funded campaign to try to derail the negotiation paid for, you guessed it, by the Israeli government.
How is it J.D. Vance, our vice president, who is privy to information that Batya Unger Sargon isn't privy to, that Ben Shapiro isn't privy to? Who the hell are these Jays saying that, oh, that's a conspiracy theory? Our vice president is saying it. How dare you? It's not a conspiracy theory, and a hell of a lot of Americans believe that. I believe it. That he's right. It's obviously a very well-funded group of Jays that are forcing all this stuff. Where the hell does this stupid airhead get off? She's actually, our vice president is saying this. There's a good chance that what he's saying has a lot of merit, but certainly has some merit. And it's just like what garbage propaganda that Ben Shapiro and his acolytes, Barry Weiss, Batya, the kind of garbage that they're spewing. They are the conspiracy theorists. And, you know, honestly, they can't point to why else this is going on. All they can do is throw red herrings out there or say, but is Iran not and just pretend that reality is not so, and that these ridiculous, fantastic fairy tales that they believe and they would have us believe, that's reality. Not what the vice president's saying, not what I'm saying, not what the Young Turks is saying, what Ben Shapiro and Batya, what they're saying, that is reality. Okay. Like, it's ridiculous. They are the conspiracy theorists now. Because, you know, like a lot of the stuff that they say about Iran and about Arabs, like, I don't see it, actually. I don't know, what are they taught? Like, they don't present any evidence. It's just, we used to just kind of believe these people and believe Israel. and they still think it's so. So they don't offer any evidence, any even really any persuasion other than you are a conspiracy theorist, an anti-Semite, or and they don't just come out and say dumb, like you're dumb. They say, anybody who believes such a drivel, they're an idiot. They're a Kate. And it's like, yo, that is not an argument. Name calling is not an argument. It's not, and it's not persuasive either. Like it's not scary. They're not scary. Nobody is afraid to be called an anti-Semite anymore. Nobody is afraid.
We absolutely screwed up the comms of the Epstein files, like we just did. But do I think the reason we screwed up the comms is because we were trying to hide something? No.
I think that sounds like such a bullshit answer, that you're trying to equivocate and dodge the real question by saying it was a comms job. Bullshit, bro. All the stuff that you gave out with that comms job, it was a bunch of garbage that they were trying to pass off as the Epstein files. It wasn't a comms issue. It's that the substance that everybody thought we were getting wasn't substance. It was bullshit. That's not a comms issue. I mean, insofar as a lying is a comms issue, then I guess it is.
Thank you so much for tuning in to the Jimmy Dore Show. I'm your guest host, Misty Winston, and that's my pal Kit. So,
whether in America or Israel or another country or both, look, he clearly had connections to the highest levels of American intelligence. He clearly had connections to the highest levels of Israeli intelligence.
Duh.
Yeah, of course. The files showed that he knew everybody from Hollywood bigwigs, music.
The guy literally knew Putin and could get into a room with Vladimir Putin, could get into a room with anybody. It was like this guy, his connections knew no bounds. This guy had dinner and provided young white girls to, the heads of Israeli heads of state. Had actually, Vladimir Putin sought this guy's advice, sought this guy's representation. That's, but Ben Shapiro, don't believe your lying eyes. That's all a conspiracy theory.
Producers, doctors, scientists, Wall Street executives, big bankers, royalty, ministers, social senators, and wait, Democrat and Republican politicians, Bill Clinton, Donald Trump. Whoa, where'd that come from?
Right. And again, I think as you were just saying, I highly please go watch the full thing for yourself. It's obviously very long. It's a Joe Rogan episode, but I don't want you to take these clips and think that I'm trying to frame things a certain way. Go watch it for yourself, inform yourself about what he actually had to say about all of this stuff. I think that that's important, obviously. But I just thought that clip was super interesting because there you have JD Vance admitting that, yes, this guy had ties to high level Israeli and American intelligence. That is, that's not even up for debate. It's not even something that anybody, I think, would even attempt to contradict. But then you have, here we go. It's just a hoax, guys.
If you look at how this Epstein story sort of evolved over the past week, it's classic Washington hoax.
Yes.
You have Democrats on the Oversight Committee leaking redacted information to their favorite reporter at CNN, who then pops the story with that redacted information and does not reveal that the unredacted version is available. And the unredacted version proves that the so-called victim in this email is a woman who is unfortunately deceased, but prior to her death said on numerous occasions that President Trump never did anything wrong and was always incredibly friendly in her.
Incredibly friendly, guys.
Oh, buddy.
With all candor, we absolutely screwed up the comms of the Epstein files, like we just did. But do I think the reason we screwed up the comms is because we were trying to hide something? No. I think the reason we screwed up the comms of the Epstein files is one, Pam's.
Not gonna lie, but you hear what that guy is saying. He's basically he thinks we're stupid.
To their favorite reporter.
Like, he thinks most people don't even know what he's talking about when he says it was a comms issue. That's what he's banking on there, because what he's saying is absolutely absurd. It's absurd.
You know, Pam Bondi said the client list is on my desk, right?
Well, they had binders. They were
100%
standing in
right.
front.
But those binders were largely documents that had already been released, right? So let me try to
what was the
defend.
purpose of that performative display of the Epstein files? And she was saying there's tens of thousands of hours of film.
I don't know what the purpose of it was, but I know that the effect of it was to make people mistrust the entire effort. And what I think is happening, look, I know Pam, I like Pam. I don't think there was anything malicious going on. I think Pam was trying to respond to the political moment. I think she overstated what.
This guy thinks that he's a silver-tongued devil. I mean, he obviously thinks that he could sell a ketchup popsicle to a woman in white gloves. Homeboy thinks he's slick as a button. And he just isn't. Maybe he's had his balls washed one too many times. I don't know, but he really thinks that people can't see he's full of shit.
We had and what we didn't have, and I think that she, got roasted for it publicly by a lot of people, including me. Like,
they're throwing Pam Bondi under the bus on that one.
The Dow is over 50. Yes, but what about the victims? But the Dow Jones. No, first of all, I remember early on Trump was applauding how she handled herself until he read the rooms like, okay, well, we need a sacrificial lamb. That was an absolute embarrassment and an insult to the victims that were standing right behind her. Because when Trump got elected, he made promises to be transparent. He did talk about the Epstein files, but when it came push to shove, he was forced by Representative Thomas Massie and Ro Khanna. And Massie, I think, in my opinion, is the only person who's been punished. He lost his seat.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't have to like him on all of his other policies, but of all the people, that's the guy that loses his seat. That's the guy who loses his election in Kentucky.
They spent, $30 million? Israel and AIPAC spent $30 million on seating him in Kentucky.
Kentucky, you got a guy from Chicago. We got corrupt.
He kind of admits that, yes, they did screw it up, which, no kidding. No shit, Sherlock, I guess.
I want to say we mishandled the Epstein release. Guilty. We did mishandle, especially the communications of it.
What do you think should have been done?
I think that we should have just dropped everything at the very beginning. And obviously it takes a little time to review the stuff, to find the stuff, to redact things where you have victims and so forth. But we should have just done it as quickly as possible.
But some of the stuff that was redacted, some of the names that were redacted weren't victims.
So, I've looked into this, and
welcome to the Epstein.
My understanding of this, having looked at a lot of this, but not all of it, is that it is sometimes hard to draw a distinction between victim and co-conspirator. And let me highlight this in a very sort of obvious way. Ro Khanna, who's been one of the loudest voices on the Epstein file. Well, he became very loud on the Epstein files the minute Donald Trump became president, didn't seem to care about it during the Biden administration. He actually brought one of the Epstein victims, I think, to the State of the Union last year, or maybe it was the year before last. Well, that victim, and I'm not saying she wasn't a victim. I don't know anything about her particular case. She was also listed as a co-conspirator in some of these documents. Right. So there's an idea that some of the people who were engaged in the sex trafficking were also, facilitating it as well.
So they were incentivized to get more girls.
Yeah, but yes, that's right. But the idea is that it's hard to sort of, it's sometimes a little bit of a gray area.
Comes off, to my mind, comes off like he just doesn't want to discuss this. It sounds to me like he's pretty anxious to get the hell away from this topic, to get off of it.
Between some of the people who were alleged victims were also alleged co-conspirators, and so what DOJ tried to do was kind of make that judgment as best they could and release as much as possible.
They could have had WikiLeaks do it. They're pretty good at redactions. I'm just saying.
And not to mention, hey, at this point, drop it, because we know just how sociopathic our rich overlords are. I mean, they're more than happy to spy in on us.
I'll tell you guys right now, this all this bullshit of like you're an anti-Semite. Oh, you're bro. That shit, it's over, man. It's over. People don't give a shit about that anymore. People are so tired of getting dogged by this bullshit with these people. And all of them, I'm talking about the BLM, anybody who's trying to use guilt on us, on Americans. It's not flying anymore. I can tell you that right now. It's not flying with anybody. People are tired of it. They have been getting away with murder for like the last decade or two because of everybody being so afraid of, race, being called a racist or an anti-Semite. People don't give a shit anymore. And I can tell you that just from a few things I've posted on Facebook and then the reaction that I get to the things I've posted. Bro, nobody wants to hear it anymore. They're sick and tired of these people. I mean, to the point where people actively attack anybody who wants to get up, show up in comments and call people racist or anti-Semitic. Like, they're quick to attack those people and drive them back down into the fucking shadows where they belong. Drive them back down into the hole they crawled out of.
We're going to play a clip right now. Joe Rogan was able to suss this stuff out. Joe Rogan was able to figure out that Jeffrey Epstein was a creep. That's weird that Joe Rogan, podcaster, meathead, like he was able to figure it out. But the people in positions of power and authority who went to fancy colleges and hold fancy degrees and have these big titles, you couldn't figure it out. So here we go.
Yeah.
When?
2017.
See, that's crazy to me because at that point he'd already gone down for at least one like sex abuse thing.
That was my position. I'll show you the emails.
Okay,
they're kind of funny.
Okay, which
I
guest?
actually read them on stage.
Okay, you want to say? Okay, fine.
People can find it.
Yeah,
I don't want to have the guy's already ruined.
Sure, but dude,
I googled it and I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about?
Yeah.
Just a simple little Google search. That's all it took for Joe Rogan to figure out that Jeffrey Epstein is a creep.
You're absolutely right.
And the thing is, what's interesting is how Epstein was trying to, or at least somebody was trying to at least allegedly get him on Rogan's show or something, and Rogan wouldn't play ball, which is fantastic.
He just wanted to hook them up. Like there was a guest on his show that he was like, hey, let me hook you up with this guy, Jeffrey Epstein. He's like a financier. He does all this stuff, whatever. And Joe Rogan did his due diligence and was like, let me Google this guy, and was like, oh yeah, no.
Yeah,
no
way.
Thank you.
Exactly. And that's it comes with the job because, I do find Vance's, I guess, how he's presenting himself. He looks annoyed because he thought he was coming to a safe place.
Yeah.
Now, Rogan, I question some of his things, especially when he was recently in Trump's White House for like, I forget, some sort of medicine for those dealing with psychosis or something of that issue. I have to look back in it, but it's like, Rogan, you're being used by this administration. You need to start thinking ahead because these guys are not going to give you a clear answer. Trump had to have his arm twisted to have that whole dump of Epstein files be released in February of this year. He had to have his arm twisted. He was forced to it. If Trump had a choice, he probably never would have released it. And dare I say it, controversial statement here, let's say if Biden or Kamala won, they would not be talking about this either. The only reason why we got Democrats talking about it is because it's a good political chip for them to use. For the
I think Thomas Massey would have talked about it regardless.
Yes.
He's been pretty consistent. He's really the only one who's been consistent. But in that clip earlier where JD Vance threw some shade at Ro Khanna and said that he was pretty quiet during Biden, that's valid criticism. That is true. Democrats didn't say anything about this during the Biden administration. So that's just another one of those lines of hypocrisy where suddenly you care about something because the guy in control is no longer on your team. And it's just really repugnant that anybody would ignore child sex abuse on a global scale like this. It's beyond my ability to comprehend. But yeah, that is valid criticism of Ro Khanna. And I think Thomas Massey is really, to my knowledge, the only person who has held elected office throughout the course of all these shenanigans who has been consistent on this issue. And listen, I have my issues with Thomas Massey, don't get me wrong, but on this, he has been loud and consistent. And I mean, credit where it's due, I guess.
And more importantly, too, when we talk about consistency, will these same politicians, now that Massey will be gone, will they give the same fire and fury talking about the Epstein files? Because this is our big scandal. You know, we are the Roman Empire of the modern era. We are the top dog, at least until like all empires, they die violently because it's a violent phenomenon. But if we as citizens want to show the world, like, hey, we're not for this, then we need to be self-aware.
Well, the thing is empire, it's not for us. Empires are not for the common people. They're not. Empires are for the nobility. It doesn't benefit a people's to be, you know, over or replaced. And make no mistake, that is what empire is. It's abandoning your national identity for a supranational identity where people of other countries are equals under your government. That's what empire is. Empire is when a country, a national government has delusions of grandeur and starts getting big for their britches and feeling like they should be able to rule the world or more than just their own people. That's what an empire is. It's a bunch of jerkwater politicians that think, you know, that they're meant for bigger things. They're meant for more than just governing their own people, their own country. They should get to govern other peoples and other countries. I mean, it's a tale as old as time, practically. That's what the Roman Empire was about. It wasn't about the Romans. Like, it was a great form of government for them until the empire. And then what the people, the plebs, the regular Roman people want doesn't matter at that point. They're like an afterthought, if they're even thought of at all. And we're like contending with that right now.
When you vote Democrat, when you vote Republican, you're voting for two parties that had people in it that turned a blind.
What a goofy look. Goofy.
Follow me at the masjid. Two, he put a dox out on my.
This guy is such a bandwagon bitch. A bandwagon bitch. Anybody that has any, like, modicum of success, this guy is immediately has their shit on that day. Oh, look, I'm a Spain fan. Bro, it's so pathetic. Dude, you fair weather faggot. Oh my
family.
God.
Three,
what a bitch.
Sneeko did it. He folded over the song. Him and his brother openly admitted it. I'm going to go through the receipts. And also 5, he put out a false allegation on me. He said that I tried to have sex with him 4 years ago without providing any evidence. And now, and no one believes it. I don't think anyone believes it. But then you get those replies. It's just the judge like, Tate said that you tried to, Tate said you're gay.
Viva España, viva Stena. Also, may Allah keep you safe during this trying time, Habibi.
Alhamdulillah. It's always a trying time. I thrive under these stressful situations. Thank you, Bo. Viva España. And it's just funny because he says, like, he put out this thing, Sneako's gay, reading's gay, and then he gets arrested looking like a thought. He looks like a thought.
True. Fact check true. Tate looks like a fruit and a half. He looks gay, say the least. Did you guys see what's her name? Something Nyong'o? Lupita Nyong'o. She's in like the Odyssey, and she has like a cop cam scene in that movie, like white teeth showing, going nuts. Like, what? I can't believe they did that. That's crazy. Absolutely crazy.
They chimp out over this, right? Even Tommy Robbins is tweeting about the Tate arrest. And it's like, wait, I thought you guys cared about Muslim grooming gangs. Isn't the Tate operation a Muslim grooming gang? Now you don't care?
Bro,
it's proof that
those guys were outlaws in the UK. Tommy Robinson has no truck with the Tate brothers. They can't set foot in that country. He knows that, like, they're not grooming anybody in the UK. They're running for their lives in the UK, from the UK.
Actually, they don't care about the Muslim grooming gangs at all. It's just they have insecurity about Muslims, and Tate is so far off from being.
Who are you to say that, you little bitch? What a little half-breed punk, bro. Little miscegenated punk with a wide nose.
Anything a Muslim really is.
Oh, the Muslims hate the gays, do they? Because, I mean, I haven't seen that. They seem to team up with the gays anytime they can.
So they accept him. Allah says in the Quran that never will the Jews and Christians like you or accept you until you become one of them. And Andrew Tate became one of them. So he put out those allegations. Sneeko tried to lover boy method. Sneeko tried to have sex with me, and then he gets arrested like in this he looks like the outfit. It looks like a Karen. It was the worst. And so he's here.
I wonder if Sneeko would say that shit to his face. I wonder.
They get arrested. He's like, oh, coin, buy my RNT, buy this coin, buy the Venom coin, this coin, escape the matrix by buying my coin and joining my gambling website. No one cares. No one cares. Escape the matrix by gambling. No one says deport. I say, hey, I want people to worship God. I'm going to try to spread this message.
Yeah. No, it has nothing to do with worshiping God. You know how people are own the libs? Sneeko is own the white people. That's what Sneeko is about. It's like we didn't let him in the club, the club that's non-existent. We didn't let him in. We didn't accept him like we accepted Nick Fuentes. So now he's a little butthurt little bitch, and he's like a little toddler, and like it's like one of those situations where we're like the guy who just kind of like walks out and like never thinks about the chick ever again, and like meanwhile he's living rent free in her head forever. Yeah, that's like Sneeko. He's like lashing out against white people and Americans and Christians because he wasn't welcomed. Like, and you know, he like, bro, the guy literally glazes. He wears anything that has anything to do with success. Spain. Look, he's got a Spain shirt, as if he gives a shit about Spain. He's a disgusting Muslim. Spain, like, you know, they were almost conquered by the Muslims. But, and I say that to say this, that he cares about success, and that's why I say he's butthurt that we didn't embrace him. Because if he cares about success, then he definitely cares about what white people think. And you know, we wouldn't let him in. We didn't pay him any. He's a loser. People watch Nick, but they don't watch Sneeko. I mean, unless they're losers as well. But yeah, he got the next closest thing. He did what Andrew Tate did and became a Muslim. You know, that's the next closest thing, I guess. I don't know. Or they would accept him. And he's like declared war on us, and we don't even consider him. I mean, like me, I'm a nobody. But that's who cares about what Sneeko thinks.
They all freak out. And so he's there, and he tries to hand his phone while he's getting arrested to a security guard. Justin Waller, I like the guy. He's like unbuckling his neck.
They all look gay. I thought that was Justin Waller, and he just looks like a femme now. He looks like a liberal. He looks like a Hollywood liberal, like producer's assistant. That's what Justin Waller looked like in that. They all look like a bunch of diva fags, a bunch of queens, but especially Justin Waller with the skin tight pants on and the gay flock of seagulls haircut. Like, bro, if that's where fashion is, bro, piss on all that stuff. I saw David Beckham's son, Romeo, the other day. Same thing. It's like, bro, You look like a wigger from the 90s. Like, David Beckham's son is dressing like a wigger from the 90s. It's like, bro, how do you give a shit what anybody thinks about you? How do you even care? You're like a billionaire. Your dad is, he's knighted, and like, they don't want for anything, and they're good-looking guys. What they make fashion. Whatever they wear becomes the fashion. And these guys, they have that power, and they decide to dress like a nig from the 90s, or even worse, an Eminem fan from the 90s, a white wigger punk ass Jamie Kennedy homo from the 90s. For real though? Oh, bro, it's so sad. It's so pathetic. Like, oh my God, bro, if I had money like that, dude, I would just, I would wear the same shit I wear now. I would not give a shit. I certainly wouldn't be like decked out in designer. It's like, it's just so gauche. It's gaudy. It's gaudy and it's effeminate. That shit is gay. It is effeminate and gay.
Necklace. Let me get your necklace.
So we're
he's holding his phone to the security guard. The security guard doesn't know what to do, and so it just falls on the floor. And then some random guy picks it up. I don't know if that was an undercover agent, if that was somebody in the circle, but someone has that phone. Who knows what they're gonna do with it? Funniest arrest video ever. Let me turn on this. Keep in mind those crimes were when he was a Christian crime. Well, see, that's the difference. Yeah, that's actually a good point. So they're saying the crimes were when he was a Christian. Notice how nobody's saying that's a Christian crime, because people should not represent the entire religion. Like, one person like that shouldn't represent the entire faith.
Yeah, but like, does anybody actually believe that either of those guys believes in God, or like, for a second, it's a show. It's a totally an act, and those guys are degenerates. They're disgusting, losers, bunch of gambling addicts. I mean, or at least those are their followers, gambling porn addicts. And nobody believes that they represent Christian. And first of all, Andrew Tate is the Muslim. His brother's a Christian. But nobody, I mean, that's the religion they claim. But nobody in their right mind actually believes those guys are religious in any sense of the word.
Get these Argentinians out of Times Square. Airport is that way. I know I'm going to get into all that stuff. Glad to be back. Put along with us in the chat. Good to see you guys. Good to see you guys. Very jet lag from the Saudi trip. I'm going to go cover that too. My high bar vlog. I took a little power nap before this stream, and I took a power nap before.
Like, is this guy actually like, does anybody actually welcome him into a country? I can't see the Arabs. I can't see anybody welcoming, other than Africa. They probably welcome him with. Look at his flat, disgusting nose, bro. Look at this nose. You guys got to see this thing. This fucking honker. It's almost kind of cartoonish. Look at this thing. It's massive, and it's so weirdly shaped, like super weird. Like,
or the World Cup vlog. Almost done. It's a fire vlog. I want to see when it's done. Hope.
Like a second ago, it was to the side.
Airport is that way. I know I'm going to get into all that stuff. Glad to be back. Put along with us in the chat.
Like, bro, you can see where the skull stops and where the cartilage starts on this dude's fucking nose. This proboscis. This thing. So disgusting.
Good to see you guys.
Bro, you can literally see where the bones stop.
Very jet lag from the Saudi trip. I'm going to go cover that too. My high bar vlog. I took a little power nap before this stream. I took a power nap.
Look at that shit, bro. Oh, it's like, oh, bro, I've never seen that before, where you could see where the skull stopped and the nose began. I never seen that before on a person.
Before the World Cup vlog. Almost done. It's a fire vlog. I want to see when it's done. Hopefully I can get it out before midnight. It's so good.
So good. He's a fucking idiot.
But so much stuff to cover. I think I'm going to go live until Fajr. So Fajr is like around 4:20. So I have time to cover it. The Highbrow vlog is goated. That's one of my favorite vlogs. So congrats to our Uma. Yeah. You know what's so cool? And this is proof of Islam.
Why are we talking about Epstein? Because J.D. Vance, the vice president, just...
This guy's crazy looking.
The idea that Donald Trump could not have killed that legislation, especially with the United States Senate, is a joke. He absolutely could have killed it. What did he do? He actually said, nope, we're going to release these files. But do I think the reason we screwed up the comms is because we were trying to hide something? No. I mean, I have theories. There's of course the...
Well, most people think he was Mossad.
Yeah.
That is such bullshit, man. That is such bullshit. They didn't want to release those files. It took a lot of public pressure. Like, they really, their stock started to go way down. Like, people started to hate the administration. It was hateful that it was hateful and offensive to the American people that they weren't going to release those. And they held out as long as they possibly could. That's why it's so disingenuous that he's acting like their arm didn't have to be twisted to release that shit. And it got released redacted and butchered too.
Mossad or CIA or some other deep state, whether in America or Israel or another country, or both.
Much to Trump's chagrin, we're still talking about Epstein. And why are we talking about Epstein? Because J.D. Vance, the vice president, just got done talking about Epstein in a conversation with Joe Rogan. But unfortunately for J.D. Vance, some of us have memories longer than 2 days ago and can see through all the lies he spit out on the Joe Rogan Experience, completely lying about the president's record, his desire to release the information, things pertaining to the case, and what this means for America, even when Americans were jumping ship off the Trump coalition because of the cover-up effort that he was a part of. Well, we're going to break it down here. We've done something like 500 videos on Epstein and the Epstein scandal in the past. So
it's just not true. I've seen the decision making up close. Again, whether you agree or disagree with our negotiation,
Is it? Why don't you back that up with some evidence? Shit lip shits. Your lip shits, and what is your asshole? Huh.
stuff like the idea that he picks up the phone with anybody and says, hey, like, I'm going to take orders from you. No, that's just not how Donald Trump operates.
I beg to differ. I'm sorry. I beg to differ, man. It's like, show me the evidence, because the guy torpedoed his legacy and his administration. Basically, it's a total wash. Ever since he did this war, his entire political career has been a wash. It's been destroyed, all of it.
Do you understand, though, why people would come to that conclusion, especially because of the Epstein files?
What do you mean?
Well, the Epstein files were supposed to be released, and there was a tremendous amount of resistance to those files being released, and that concerned a lot of people. Because if you're talking about very wealthy, powerful people that were engaged in crimes,
I see. So you're basically saying, like, the fear is that whatever's in the Epstein files was used to blackmail, like, the administration into doing the Iran thing.
Or at the very least, the people that were involved in the Epstein files that didn't want them coming out had undue influence.
Well, again, like, say this with all candor, like, we absolutely screwed up the comms of the Epstein files. Like, we just did.
Oh, man.
But
he's really, a lot of candor there, man. He's really letting the cat out of the bag, huh?
Do I think the reason we screwed up the comms is because we were trying to hide something? No.
Well, too bad your administration was trying to hide something in more than one thing, using that term in the singular. Over 10 months, Trump bled political capital such that he wouldn't have to release any of the 6 million files that existed in the Epstein files, which...
And like we all know, it was because a lot of his friends were in those files. We know he said that.
He at one point implied didn't exist. At one point he said it was a Democratic hoax. And at one point he said, we all remember this, I'm sorry to say, Vance, we recall this, that you're not my real supporter if you want to get to the bottom of this child sex trafficking ring that involves some of the most prominent people in the world. In terms of blackmail, who can blame the American people for thinking at least that's a possibility? That Trump would launch this war so counter...
Yeah, you know, that's really the glaring problem with this argument is like, dude, he basically disowned all of MAGA except for like the bandwagon scumbags, Mark Levin and his acolytes, Ben Shapiro and his acolytes. He all but abandoned and orphaned all that constituency. And even that didn't work. You know, it destroyed his image, and like he betrayed us. And it felt like a betrayal, like a true betrayal. And you're not gonna like. We've seen no evidence for why it wasn't because of Israel. Like they haven't given us any evidence, and we've seen the Epstein files, and they know that we believe this. But they don't try to convince us otherwise. They just try to shame us. That's what they try. That's what they're trying to do. Oh, it's a conspiracy theory, this and that. And it's like, well, show me the evidence. Like, show me then who is he batting for? Who is Trump sticking up for? Because when I say it's Israel, you just say I'm crazy. You don't actually say, well, then how could he have done this? This, and this. Who did he do that? Like, no, they're not presenting any sort of argument or any facts, anything. They're just saying we're crazy. We're conspiracy theorists. Okay, well, like you're not just avoiding that for no reason. You're not just evading answering those questions and presenting the evidence of why that's not the case. And they refuse to, and I'm sure he doesn't do it here either. He tries to do some mental gymnastics, I'm sure, and then try to kind of wave it off like you're an idiot if you believe that Donald Trump follows anybody's order. That's not how Donald Trump is. How could you believe Donald Trump doesn't do business like that? Dude, shut up, bro. That's not an argument. Bro, calling me names is not a good argument. Calling me dumb is not a good argument.
Intuitive. Not only to his campaign rhetoric, but anything that would lead his administration to be successful. This war and the Epstein scandal, those are the two issues that have tanked this administration and the unparalleled, in some ways, coalition that brought Trump to power. As far as the blackmail, yeah, that seems like a definitive possibility when all you do is side with Netanyahu, a genocidal maniac, above the American people that support you, even if it's to the loss of your popular support, to the threatening of your agenda. That's why American people think that. And this is not a foreign concept. We know that Epstein was setting up blackmail against Bill Gates, drafting out that email about how Bill Gates contracted the STDs from the Russians that he had, documenting it in a record form.
Yeah, and it's like, JD Vance, you have, like, you're polling as shit because of this, because everybody thinks you're bought and paid for by Israel. You're having to do this podcast because of this, and you still refuse to give us an explanation. That's not going away.
He needed to use leverage over Gates. in the future. Seems to be what that was, with Bannon saying, hey, can you really get rid of Powell and Mnuchin, at that point the Secretary of the Treasury and the Federal Reserve Board head? It seems like he might have had the leverage to do that if he was engaging in blackmail. Former victims of Epstein, like Maria Farmer, said, hey, she was brought into a room in
Howard Nutlick. I love that one. Yeah, big time. Such bullshit. Nobody believes it was a comms issue.
What was
Let me try to
the
defend.
purpose of that performative display of the Epstein files? And she was saying there's tens of thousands of hours of film.
I don't know what the purpose of it was, but I know that the effect of it was to make people mistrust the entire effort. And what I think was happening,
No
look,
shit.
I know Pam, I like Pam. I don't think there was anything malicious going on. I think Pam was trying to respond to the political moment. I think she overstated what we had and what we didn't have. And I think that she, got roasted for it publicly by a lot of people, including me. Like, you and I have talked about this a lot. I'm like one of the OG Epstein conspiracy theorists. I've probably gone down every single rabbit hole we could go down, most of them today.
What a load of
the original
horseshit.
sin
What
of the
a load
Epstein
of
investigation, and obviously I'm biased here, but it was not what Donald Trump and the administration did in 2025. It was, you have to go back to 2007, 2008. The original Alex Acosta investigation of Jeffrey Epstein, where he basically dropped the federal charges. I think Epstein ended up getting prosecuted on some sort of
absolutely thinks we're a
local
bunch
thing.
of morons.
But the original warrant.
Absolutely. 100%. Blows my mind. What an asshole.
You go to the original warrant back in 2008. What was he looking for? What was he allowed to look for? What were they collecting? It was not looking at a broader conspiracy. So that happens. Okay. Epstein gets pinched. I think he goes to prison, or maybe this is when he was on house arrest.
Mm-hmm.
But like anything that existed from the 80s and 90s up to 2006, 2007, anything that existed that we didn't get back then was disappeared.
Bro. God. Anywho, I just wanted to show a couple of videos, talk about them real quick before I finished up.
To be so fucking for real, the reason why women refuse to go on a date with a man unless he pays or he's paying a bill is because women understand that relationships are transactional, especially now. Women are waking up to the fact that, we were taught that we were gonna grow up and date someone for love and marry somebody for love, but
it's like, what? Fuck. This is crazy. Like, they are the ones who destroyed the getting married and settling down and having kids. It's literally them. And they did that. And then it's like they have to make up reasons for why that's not their fault, and for why, make up reasons for why they have to be sluts and oh man,
real.
Like, and the young ones, God, they sound like morons.
Realizing that men don't do that. Men date and marry women that are convenient. Men date and marry women for the
There's literally no such thing, you dumb little girl. Like, a convenient woman, a convenient wife, a convenient girlfriend. Yeah, said no man ever. That just those concepts, it's like oil and water. God, she sounds stupid.
For the easy access to our bodies. Realistically, all men use us for sex, even ones we're in.
Like, that's that woman. It's like she's pretending that they don't enjoy sex. Like, seriously, yeah, and it is like a mutual activity. Like, you're enjoying it at the same time. Like, they try to pretend as if they get nothing out of it, as if she thinks that she's giving something up that a man isn't also giving up at the exact same time. His body.
Relationships with. If you didn't have the ability to give a man sex, they wouldn't be dating you. That's why. And
that's such bullshit. It's like saying, what about moms? Like, what about sisters? Guys have died for their mothers and sisters. Like, it's objectively ridiculous. If anybody is not that way, it's men. Like, men have no reason to protect any women, have no reason to care about women or to stick up for them, or to, there's always some jerk off that steps up to Cape and Superman, play superhero for some woman. Anytime a woman gets in trouble for something and some jerk off simp has to come to her rescue. Like, and that flies in the face of what she's saying. It's such drivel.
A lot of most men leave their wives when they get sick. Now,
most men leave their wives. Like, yeah, most men don't leave their wives. They get left by their wives. Oh, it's hilarious. What an idiot.
What's the difference between you using me for my body and me in return using you for your money?
Like, bro, I'm not, sex is a mutual activity. Like, it would be, okay, if you were a call girl, if you were a hooker, that would be one thing. But, I mean, essentially, they see themselves as hookers now. This girl, she tries to pretend as though she doesn't see herself as a hooker with some of the things she says, but she absolutely does see herself as a prostitute.
Because realistically, you can make your money back. I have one body, motherfucker. That's also why I would never do sex work and why I don't think it's worth it to date a man, even if he was rich. Because I don't think my body is worth your money. I'm going to make my own fucking money. God bless the sex workers that do that. I'm never going to do that because I know my body is worth more than your ugly ass money. But
oh my God, it's so cringe. It's your ugly ass money. Okay. Like, yeah, money is not art. It's not made to look good. It's a utilitarian device. It's a utilitarian idea. It represents some cumbersome, unwieldy shit. It's much easier to carry bills, money around than it is to carry gold bullion.
the women that still want to date men, they understand that the only true value of that at the end of the day and in return, they can have money. Women didn't want relationships to be transactional like this. We grew up.
First of all, relationships are transactional. They have always been a transaction. Always, from the very beginning. They've always been a transaction. They've always been, it's always been a kind of a symbiotic, mutual situation. Men want something from women, women want something from men. And it's not an even trade either. Not even close. Men basically hold up the entire species. Women are kind of just like they don't do anything. They don't hold up a civilization. Like, no. They have natural bodily functions that take care of themselves. Like, women accomplishing, doing what they do is through no skill of their own. If they were in a coma, their body would carry a pregnancy just fine. Like, a woman in a coma could be impregnated, could carry a child to term, and even birth that child. That's how much women do. Somebody without cognitive function could do what they do. You cannot say the same for men. You can't. You cannot hunt without cognition. You can't even eat without it. So it's like, yeah, it's kind of lopsided there. Women actually don't do anything, in the affirmative. Things just happen to them. Men actually make those things happen. But to hear her say, it's like she thinks that men benefit from everything. And it's like, no, actually, you mistake yourself. You actually benefit from everything. Everything. When a man is rich, you benefit. Any man a man that you're interested in, or a man that marries a woman, if he has money, it benefits the woman. But it's not the same in the reverse. If a woman has money, men don't stand to benefit in any way at all. None whatsoever. In fact, they might actually be have to pony up, even if she has her own. Like they say, her money is her money and my money is our money. I mean, and truer words have never been. It's so true. I saw an interesting statistic that for every 5% raise you give a man, he's 5% more likely to have children. If you give a woman a 5% raise, she's 4% more likely not to have children.
Wanting to date.
So if you give men more money, you get more babies. If you give women more money, you get less babies. Pretty much. Women only have kids when they don't have money, basically. When women have kids when they need something from people around them. When they need something from a man, they'll have kids. If they, that's one of the ways they secure resources, is by having children. It's really the main way. And them having degrees and good jobs, that actually, and they wonder why men don't care, because those good jobs and those degrees and that money, if they have it, it's not for a man. It's for a woman in case she doesn't get a man. Women have money and jobs and degrees so that if they aren't able to secure a man, they don't starve to death. That's why women have money. And that's why men don't give a shit if women have money. Because they only have it insofar as they use it to provide for themselves. They don't use it to their plan A is to get a man to provide for them. Their plan B, no. Their plan C or D is to provide for themselves. They will prostitute, they will sell their body, they will sell themselves before they provide for themselves, typically. I mean, if they can make more money selling their ass than they can doing another job, they will sell their ass. I mean, truly, that's what they, I mean, and that's why it's kind of hilarious. And this kind of what I had an idea doing the stream about was, our society, the fallout from our society abandoning standards, the fallout of modernity as we abandon more and more standards, we become more and more baser human beings. Our our flaws, our peccadillos as humans start to get more and more toxic, more and more pronounced. And so we have to lower our standards more and more all the time. Like a lot of people, like, the shame and all the society, all the cultural standards we had, there was a lot of people that said, no, we can't get rid of those. We will, bad things will happen. And a lot of people, a lot of progressives, no, we should get rid of them. They're not nice. They make people feel bad and this and that. So, and they got rid of them, whether we liked it or not. And those were literally a bulwark against our own inner demons. That's what all of that shit was for. That's what shame was for. That's what, like cultural mores and standards, getting married, like shotgun weddings, all that stuff. Yeah, that was to keep us honest, to keep our demons locked up in the basement, so to speak. And we're discovering how toxic and cannibalistic some of our deepest instincts as animals, basically. We're discovering how evil and just degenerate humans can really get to. I mean, we're not even close to it, at the bottom of the barrel yet. I mean, I think the bottom of the barrel is like cannibalism and stuff. It could get there. It could get there. I mean, all of us go back to like all of our DNA, and all of us can be traced back to like 1,500 human beings. Like 1,500. Our population got pinched down to less than 2,000 individuals. And a lot of that, I think, it was like cannibalism, basically. Because what brought us to that situation was like a huge species-wide civil war where people were eating each other, like raiding each other's village to get people to eat, or, like killing a whole village of people and then, bringing their bodies back for something to, like, bro, yeah. And those things, they may be very distant to us now, but society could degenerate back to that point. Oh, dude, we are animals at heart. And, like biblical Roman times, dude, that's like that's high society compared to how we could get. The Wild West and how dangerous and how crazy that was, that was quite controlled, and like, like we were pretty, even then the social standards were pretty strong and pretty good. But I mean, it's like that stuff could come back easily. And it's like, we are so disconnected from it that we don't even consider that, but it's possible. I don't know how I got off on that tangent going from this stupid bitch's like rant.
Marry for love. We grew up wanting to have genuine connection with men, and we're realizing that a lot of that just isn't, like, it's just not really possible anymore. It's not realistic for us.
It's not realistic because of you, because of, like, it's not men who have driven this. home because it's only a few percentage of men that even enjoy any of this, that get benefit from any of this. It's ridiculous.
Understanding that best case scenario, it's a business decision. Best case scenario, a marriage is a business decision. Because at the end of the day, yeah, you can marry for love, but it also should be a business decision on top of that, at the very least. And I think it
kind of is a business decision. And, you know, don't fool yourself, because really a lot of women's luster and their allure is in your head. It's in men's head. You know, we have an idea of women, and it's a beautiful idea, but you know, it's not real, and it sucks to be dispelled of it. It sucks to get disillusioned, you know, and to be put off of it. But it's best to see them for what they are, honestly.
just extremely ironic and insane.
And they, you know, relationships, that's, you know, yeah, we get something out of them, but really they are definitely getting the better end of the bargain. We're getting the shit end of the stick, basically. You know, I mean, basically, we're told to eat a lot of hard knocks, to just kind of chalk a lot up to the game. They make out like bandits. Even if divorce and if government, like all this, you know, courts and this and that, even if that stuff didn't matter, even if it didn't exist, they would still be making out like bandits. Truly.
That the finger is now being pointed to women, and
No
you know,
shit.
we're
No shit. Because men haven't changed. The only thing that's changed is women. That's it. That's the only thing that's changed. Men have always slaved away at their jobs. It's women that have changed, and they want to pretend that it has nothing to do with them. It's like, yeah, fat chance. You know, what do I look like to you? I look like a sucker. A sucker. Like a sucker ass Mark. Obviously, she thinks we're gonna believe this hogwash.
we're making relationships so transactional. We're ruining dating because women refuse to date a man if he can't pay for things. That is quite literally the bare minimum. I saw this amazing quote here the other day, and it was like, the female bird doesn't mate with the fucking male bird if he cannot fucking perform correctly. Like, that's it.
Yeah,
that is it. That is natural selection, bitch. A lot of men should not be marrying and should not be procreating because they don't have the fucking brain capacity. They don't have the funds. They're not hot enough. Too bad.
It's funny, this guy says, why do I hate half the population? It's like, what are you talking about, her? Is like, that's what it sounds like. I don't know what you're talking about. I don't hate anybody. It sounds like she hates people. She hates half the population. I was just calling a spade a spade. Women are not saints. They're not angels. Somehow that's me hating half the population because I'm saying, let's not kid ourselves as men. They are not angels. They are not in relationships. They are not in any of this because it's good for us. They're not doing anything for our benefit, for our well-being. If they do anything, it's for their well-being. And, you know, more power to them. That's fine. But let's not lie to ourselves here. Let's not fool ourselves. That's all I'm saying here. Let's not be gullible fools. They're not angels. They're not saints. They do evil shit. They think evil things just like men do. Only, you know, they do it in a different way. You know, these people are still capable of drowning all their children in a bathtub.
This is natural selection. Women should not be procreating with a lot of these men.
She said a bunch of nothing. I totally agree with her. women should not, a lot of women should not be procreating. I totally agree with that. You know, and maybe a lot of men shouldn't be either. Hey, I'm willing to concede that. But yeah, a lot of women, like, you know, so many pathologies, so many actual like retardations, so many different like real problems, syndromes, and flaws, like genetic flaws get passed on in the human genome. They get passed on because women have them, and because women receive far less scrutiny when it comes to mating and producing offspring. You know, men are scrutinized by women, and we all know, you know, men are kind of dogs, and they will sleep with a retard. Certain men will, or they won't even notice or care that a woman has problems. They won't care, you know, they'll ignore a lot of things. Women don't ignore those things. If you're a man and you have like a mutation, like you have like, you know, you're bipolar, you have some real like a you know, a syndrome, I'm trying to an illness like that, congenital illness. Yeah, you're not going to get to have kids, pretty much, you know, and that's women doing their job. You know, and like Marilyn Monroe, she was a moron. She was like borderline mentally retarded. So was her mother. And men didn't even care to even know or care. They didn't care. They still, so, and those problems, those actual congenital problems get passed on from generation to generation because they're in women. It's only women pass them down. That's facts.
Men typically don't just use,
and like you said, no, they don't. Men typically don't just use women. Women do, however, they do use men. They do use men. I mean, you don't like, it's not 99% of men have no possible chance of becoming a gigolo or having sex for money. 99% of women can do this, can do that. You know, and really prostitution, like, yeah, they're using those men and those men are using the women, but it's definitely the women that are in they're in the driver's seat of that transaction. Those women are predatory. I mean, and that's why call girls do calls, because they're in control. They get like a rush from it. Yeah, men do sell their bodies. And like that woman said, how am I going to give my body? Like, and it's so, I mean, honestly, it's ironic because men sell their bodies to get that money. That's what's funny. If she's real, she's such a moron that she doesn't realize that men, they get themselves killed for money, and they literally, they spend their life to earn that money. And that, you know, that's kind of why it's so galling that women think, you know, money is so trivial and you're such a cheapskate, this and that. And it's like, yeah, well, obviously your relationship with money is skewed, and it's almost no relationship at all. You don't work for it. You don't know what it's like. You think money are fun coupons. They're fun coupons, you see. They're, you know, don't you get it from the getting place? Like, nobody works for money. You go to the getting place. You go to the money tree. Duh. Like, a lot of women live that's their, you know, when they're a kid, they get their dad is the getting place. When they become an adult, you know, men are the getting place. I mean, it's their relationship with money is just not, it's skewed. It's not real. It's not reality. And, you know, I think women get to have everybody gets to have their standards. Everybody gets to have their taste and their taste in men, taste in women. And nobody begrudges women their standards. Nobody begrudges them their standards for men. And why is it that men are begrudged their standards when it comes to spending their money? Women are allowed to have standards when it comes to what men they have sex with. Why aren't men allowed to have standards on the sluts that they spend their money on? Honestly. I mean, it's always transactional. It's always men's work or women's sex. Men's protection for women's sex. And at least, I mean, at least it's that, at least when you look at it that way, it's honest. It's honest. And probably because that's the way men look at it. I mean, if it was the way women look at it, I'm sure is dishonest. The way they look at everything is dishonest. I mean, and I don't think it's such a bad thing, like people are like, there's somebody who's just like spamming this shit. You just see these messages going across and like where, like you think that all this stuff is a bad thing. Like that's where we differ. I actually just think it's the human thing and it's the natural thing. That is what it is. It is what it is. And it works. Humans exist because of it. We're all alive because of it. I mean, it's that simple. And I think it's kind of natural and it is what it is. And I think it would be better for everybody, all parties concerned, if we owned it. If we just wore it. I mean, honestly, it is what it is. It is relationships are transactional. Men get something and women get something. And in the end, everybody gets something because we all have, the humans benefit. I had this thought the other day. You guys ever considered this? Like, our percentage of the world population is shrinking. White people's percentage, more or less. It's shrinking. And think about this. As our percentage in the world, and as the world's population declines, like the population of decent human beings will also decline. Have you guys ever thought of that? Like, bro, how it's like the standard of life on Earth is going to it's going to decline here on out. Basically, I think that's the case. As we decline in the percentage of the population, so too will the high trust society, will like imagine if we're all gone. Imagine or a couple by 2100. Like this is not a good thing. You know what I mean? Like, and I think Asian people, I think they're a lot like us. They don't actually want to screw people. They kind of like farming. I think they like doing, their way of life is not all that different. It's hardworking. It's not all that different from ours or from Europe's, like they're capitalistic. They like running businesses. They like building things, constructing. But like Japan, like our populations are declining. And what happened, like in the Middle East and Africa, these are like barbaric people. Like they are, man. They are. And they're not, I don't know. It just seems like they have nothing close to a Christian worldview. I mean, And Asians don't either, but Asians, they kind of have the live and let live ethos too. They kind of just want to live a good life, raise their family, provide for their family. You know, like they're not looking to take from other people. Typically, they just want to earn their own keep. You know, and it's like we're gonna descend in darkness. And you know, you get the Middle East. You know, they still have they want to conquer the world. They still want to make the world like this Islamic caliphate. That's what I mean. Is like barbaric. They're, you know, they still want to subjugate everybody. I mean, maybe that's where we went wrong, was when we kind of abandoned that. I guess we don't need to though. Like we don't need to. Anyway, though, yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and cut the stream short. That's it for me tonight. It's getting kind of late. Yeah, you know, wasn't as good of a. I wasn't as on it as I would have liked. I mean, I need to get back into the habit of streaming every night. You know, so it's like got to get back into the groove. You know, kind of. I'm not locked in yet. I'm not in the pocket yet. But yeah, I appreciate you guys swinging through on this auspicious Sunday evening. I'm, you know, happy for Spain. I think they earned it. I think they're, uh, you know, great team, good team, honorable team. Argentina though, bunch of thugs. Anywho, yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed the stream. Sorry, I had to take that break. You know, I was really I was just getting ground down, dude, to a fine nub from just watching those streams every night, and 7 months without any sort of a break. Anywho, yeah, I'll definitely be back on tomorrow evening, and yep, I definitely will, Goldie. I appreciate that. Good to see you. Good to see you there, Con. But yeah, hope you all enjoyed the show. I will see you guys tomorrow evening, per the usual.